The year is 202X in Seoul, and the city is buzzing with monumental developments. Urgent breaking news begins to flash across every screen in the country. After a grueling 13-hour marathon session, the future leadership of the Samjin Group has finally been determined. The intense boardroom battle has concluded, revealing the identity of the next person to lead the massive conglomerate. It is officially announced that CEO John Seong-kuk will take the reins as the new chairman. Unlike his peers who often fall from grace due to scandals, Seong-kuk stands tall, privately reveling in his own success. He laughs to himself, savoring the praise and the absolute power he has finally secured. He declares himself the true king of Samjin, reflecting on the immense effort he poured into reaching this pinnacle. He mastered everything from academics to athletics while ruthlessly keeping his siblings under his thumb. From managing his family's messes to maintaining a perfect arranged marriage, he handled every responsibility flawlessly. His public image was a masterpiece of manipulation, making him the most beloved billionaire among the younger generation. He takes a moment to admire his own perfection, believing his ascension to the throne was only natural. Now that he is in control, he plans to immediately purge the organization of any lingering old remnants. His first order of business is to eliminate the loyalists of his rival, John Tae-guk. Suddenly, a wave of physical agony washes over him without warning. He gasps for air as a terrifying realization takes hold of his mind. Panic sets in as his chest tightens and he finds it impossible to draw a single breath. He desperately hopes that what is happening isn't the end of his journey. He recalls his grandfather, the founder of the company, who met his end through a sudden heart attack. He refuses to accept that someone as powerful as himself could be brought down by a mere biological failure. Soft, soothing voices begin to drift into his consciousness, calling out to him with affection. Someone coos at him, addressing him with a childhood nickname he hasn't heard in decades. He feels a strange sensation as he realizes his current state is incredibly small and helpless. Confusion reigns as he tries to process the impossible situation he now finds himself in. Surprised exclamations of joy fill the room around him. He is showered with doting affection, being told how adorable he is by a complete stranger. A 21-year-old woman named Kim Soyoung marvels at how handsome the child looks. Beside her, 23-year-old John Jiseong agrees, comparing the infant's looks to those of a celebrity. They beam with pride at the striking appearance of their newborn son. The former chairman can only react with internal disbelief at their words. The young mother notices a strange look on her child's face and wonders if something is wrong. He is utterly bewildered by the reality of his new environment. His once powerful and athletic physique has vanished, replaced by the tiny, weak body of an infant. The man who was once the king of Samjin is forced to confront his new, diminished stature. He feels a deep sense of humiliation at being reduced to such a vulnerable state. The weight of his current reality is almost too much for him to bear. He realizes he has been reborn as a baby in an impoverished household headed by a young couple. He mourns the loss of his luxury lifestyle and expensive wines, now replaced by the grim reality of poverty. His new mother approaches him, offering him a bottle of milk to soothe him. He looks at the cheap formula with absolute disdain, a far cry from the gourmet meals he once enjoyed. He tries to protest, but only incoherent baby noises escape his lips. Despite his mental resistance, his infant instincts force him to accept the nourishment. His parents praise him for being such a well-behaved child while he eats. He finds their displays of parental affection absolutely revolting and difficult to stomach. He reflects on the absurdity of falling from the height of success to being a helpless baby in a single day. The most difficult adjustment isn't the poverty, but dealing with the constant attention of these two people. Their constant doting and sweet talk make him cringe with embarrassment. He is forced to navigate the unfamiliar and overwhelming sensation of having actual parents. This is a sharp contrast to his previous life, where warmth and family were non-existent. He recalls the cold and distant nature of his original biological parents. In his past life, his father was a man of cold demands and constant work. He was burdened with the responsibility of watching over his siblings from a very young age. He was told to rely on his brother Taeguk, a command that only fueled their lifelong rivalry. He tries to shake off the sentimentality as his new mother notices him drifting off. He attempts to stay awake, refusing to succumb to the limitations of his new body. Ultimately, the biological need for sleep proves to be a battle he cannot win as an infant. He curses his physical weakness, promising to figure things out the moment he wakes up. His father suggests that they all get some rest while the baby is finally sleeping. His parents share a moment of quiet cooperation, showing the depth of their bond. The father encourages the mother to relax and catch up on the daily news. The television broadcast begins with a report on a massive bribery scandal involving Samjin. The news details an investigation into Chairman John Juzin regarding illegal political payoffs. The legendary founder of Samjin is shown appearing in person for his legal proceedings. The mother gasps in shock as her baby suddenly sits upright, eyes glued to the television screen. He is stunned to see his late grandfather alive and appearing on the news. The report continues to dive into the details of the infamous Apple Box bribery case. Images of John Juzin entering the courthouse fill the screen, confirming the historical timeline. He can hardly believe his eyes as he watches the scene unfold. There is no doubt that the man on the screen is his deceased grandfather in his prime. The realization hits him with full force as he confirms his suspicions. He remembers this specific moment in history with vivid clarity. This event took place back when he was only 10 years old. He recalls how his grandfather was criticized for the bribery, though he viewed it as a necessary move for power. To him, wealth and connections were the only things that truly mattered in the world. He viewed the common struggle of saving pennies as a mindset reserved only for the poor. While he lost himself in thought, his parents cheered at the sight of him beginning to crawl. He remembers the day he was chosen to push his grandfather's wheelchair through the media frenzy. That moment was carefully orchestrated to garner public pity, serving as his unofficial debut to the world. It was the day he signaled to everyone that he would be the rightful heir to the Samjin Empire. He was destined to follow in the footsteps of his grandfather and father. Then, the image of his hated brother, John Taeguk, flashes through his mind. He feels a familiar surge of anger toward his greedy and incompetent sibling. He remembers how his brother wasted his life away on vices while living abroad. Taeguk was an arrogant brat who constantly tried to steal a position he didn't deserve. The realization dawns on him that being a baby is the least of his concerns right now. He has been sent back to the past, and his mother notices his strange intensity. He panics, realizing that in this timeline, his entire future and destiny are at stake. His mother tries to get his attention, unaware of the corporate war raging in his mind. She offers him some apple juice, trying to be helpful and kind. Internally, he screams for them to stay out of his way so he can think. His mother looks at him with concern, sensing his unusual temperament. The father returns home from work, announcing his arrival with a cheerful shout. He brings home leftover meat from the restaurant where he works as a chef. He promises to prepare a delicious meal for his small family. He stops mid-sentence, noticing the strange atmosphere in the room. The mother points out that their son has been obsessively watching the news all day. She explains that the baby throws a tantrum if anyone tries to change the channel. The father tries to distract him with a game of peekaboo, hoping to act like a normal parent. The infant's reaction is far from what the father expected. In his mind, the former chairman demands that his new father move aside and stop blocking his view. He grows frustrated, feeling like there is no time for meaningless games while he is trapped in this state. His mind races with the urgent need to gather every scrap of intelligence available to him. He focuses on understanding the current era, the status of his grandfather, and the inner workings of Samjin. Most importantly, he searches for any clue that might lead him back to his original adult body. His new mother gently tries to pull him away, insisting that he has had enough for one day. She worries that he hasn't eaten and needs rest. Unaware of the corporate titan raging inside the infant, she calls out his name with a soft, maternal concern that he isn't used to. He mentally protests, struggling against her touch as he tries to stay focused on the television. He is haunted by the thought of his hard-earned empire falling into the hands of his incompetent brother, Taeguk. The drive to reclaim his rightful place at the top of the world burns brighter than ever. Soyoung pleads with him to be a good boy and rest, her voice filled with a mother's simple devotion. She confides her fears that her own lack of knowledge might prevent her from raising him correctly. Her husband reassures her, believing that their genuine love is more valuable than any material wealth. A few days pass as the former chairman continues his struggle to adapt to his new life. He begins to feel a sense of hopelessness as his efforts to find answers yield no results. Despite his secret attempts to monitor the news, he finds nothing that explains his bizarre predicament. The world continues on its path with indifference, leaving him imprisoned in a body that cannot even walk. His mother calls out to him, noticing a change in his usual routine. She wonders if he has finally lost interest in the news, while he silently admits defeat for the time being. She suggests a change of pace, offering to take him out for a walk in the fresh air. They head toward the local market to shop for ingredients and admire the flowers along the way. The bright sun and pleasant weather provide a stark contrast to his dark and complicated thoughts. On their way out, they encounter their landlady, a young woman who is just heading off to work. The landlady explains she had a busy morning, resulting in her leaving later than usual. The two women exchange polite greetings in the hallway of the modest building. They wish each other a pleasant day before parting ways. Soyoung comments on how young the building owner is before continuing their journey to the market. They arrive at the bustling marketplace, filled with the sights and sounds of everyday life. She excitedly hunts for bargains, determined to make a nutritious meal with the few coins she has. He finds her constant chatter amusingly simple, knowing his only real option for food is baby formula. A sudden, terrifying sound shatters the peaceful atmosphere of the market. Panic erupts as a dangerous situation unfolds in an instant. Soyoung screams his name, her first instinct being to protect her child from harm. The landlady cries out in horror as she witnesses a construction accident nearby. The young father arrives on the scene, shouting his wife's name in a state of pure terror. In the chaos, Soyoung's only concern remains the safety of her son. With her last bit of strength, she vows to protect Songguk no matter what happens to her. For the first time, the cold-hearted chairman feels a genuine surge of fear for someone else. He watches in desperation, mentally pleading for his mother to survive the ordeal. The scene shifts rapidly as she is rushed into the hospital as an emergency patient. Doctors move with urgency, preparing for surgery to treat the severe head injury she sustained. The gravity of the situation hangs heavy in the air as the medical team works. After a tense period of uncertainty, Soyoung slowly begins to regain consciousness. Her husband is by her side instantly, his face etched with relief and exhaustion. He helps her sit up, but her mind is focused on only one thing. She frantically asks for her son, desperate to know if he survived the accident. The father hesitates for a moment, letting the silence build before giving her the news. He reassures her that the baby is right there and completely unharmed. He tells her that her bravery saved the child's life, though the experience was traumatizing for everyone. She pulls the baby close, comforting him despite her own pain and injuries. Tears of joy stream down her face as she holds her son, grateful beyond words. The former tycoon realizes that for the first time in his 2 lives, he was truly terrified of losing someone. He is shaken by the realization that she put his life above her own without a second thought. He wonders why she would risk everything for him, someone she barely knows in this timeline. Overwhelmed by emotion, the infant begins to cry, his cold heart finally starting to melt. Soyoung eventually notices they are in a high-end private room and worries about the cost. She tries to downplay her injuries, concerned that they cannot afford such luxury. Her husband insists that the doctors ordered absolute rest, leaving no room for argument. He hints at a deeper reason for the caution, mentioning that a certain condition requires extra care. He reveals that she is expecting another child, making her recovery even more critical. He tells her to focus solely on getting better while he handles the burdens of the family. A nurse interrupts the emotional moment to announce the end of visiting hours. The father prepares to take the baby home, promising to return the following day. He kisses his wife goodbye, urging her to use this time to fully recover. Her last request is for him to take the utmost care of their precious son. The father carries Songguk out of the hospital, heading back toward their humble home. He checks his pockets, realizing the bus fare is a luxury they might not be able to afford. He decides to walk the long distance, and the baby realizes just how dire their financial situation truly is. He is stunned that they are so poor they can't even afford a simple bus ride. He looks at the man carrying him, seeing a father who works himself to the bone for his family. He thinks of the mother who was willing to die to keep him safe. A word begins to form in his mind, breaking through his cynical exterior. He finally speaks, calling out to his father for the very first time. The father is overjoyed, celebrating the milestone as he realizes these people are truly his family. A week passes, and the small home is filled with a sense of celebration. They hold a combined party to welcome the mother home and celebrate a new beginning for the family. The parents dote on him, marveling at how adorable and perfect their son appears to be. They compare his looks to those of a star, convinced that he is the most handsome baby in the world. They view him as a flawless jewel, the greatest treasure they possess. The former chairman's old instincts kick in, questioning the logic of a party given their debt. He remembers their struggle with the hospital bills and the long walk home to save money. In his past life, he would have judged them for their lack of financial discipline. However, he now realizes that some things are far more valuable than a balance sheet. He accepts their love, acknowledging the selfless bond they have shown him. Having seen their struggle, he makes a firm decision to use his knowledge to change their fate. He knows that his parents lack the skills to escape the cycle of poverty on their own. With a major economic crisis on the horizon, he knows he must act fast to protect them. He lets out a small sound, his mind already calculating his first move. Their landlady visits, bringing a surprising and potentially life-changing proposal. She mentions that she has been thinking about the baby's future and his unique charm. She suggests that his incredible looks could be the key to a career as a child actor. She asks the parents if they have ever considered letting him audition for commercials. She presents them with a flyer for an open audition looking for the next big child star. Soon after, the family finds themselves standing at the entrance of a professional studio. He surveys the venue with a critical eye, noting that the production company seems legitimate. Soyoung hesitates at the door, feeling out of place in such a high-pressure environment. He mentally urges her forward, knowing this is the golden opportunity he needs to start his ascent. He recalls the conversation from a few days ago that led them to this moment. The landlady had explained that her company was looking for a child for a major corporate ad. She was convinced that his natural talent and looks would make him a perfect candidate for the role. The former chairman laughs to himself, knowing that some people are simply born for success and high-stakes games. He views this as his primary chance to escape his current state and start building a new fortune. Every moment is now a calculated move to secure the money he needs to regain his former glory. Since his previous life was spent in the spotlight, he is more than comfortable in front of a lens. He knows exactly how to work his best angles, recalling how people once praised his actor-like looks. He expects to breeze through the audition and claim all the prize money and contracts for himself. He already has plans to reinvest his earnings to multiply his wealth as quickly as possible. A woman snaps at his mother, impatiently asking if they are going to get on the elevator. His young mother, Soyoung, nervously steps aside to let the rude woman pass first. The wealthy woman looks down at the child with a sense of entitlement and arrogance. The former tycoon finds the encounter irritating, recognizing the woman's typical elite attitude. She boasts about her own son, Jae-hee, and dismisses Soyoung with a cold, haughty remark. She accuses Soyoung of scouting the competition, but the young mother is too intimidated to speak up. The woman arrogantly declares that no matter what they do, her son is guaranteed to win the role. Soyoung is stunned by the woman's blatant overconfidence and lack of manners. The rich woman is taken aback by the fierce, calculating gaze coming from the infant in the stroller. She is draped in luxury brands and treats her nanny like a low-ranking servant. He recognizes her immediately as a typical rich madam from a wealthy paper manufacturing family. He silently vows to crush her son in the audition and humble her arrogant attitude. The staff calls for the next child, directing the photographer to capture a specific side-angle shot. The crew tries their best to get the babies to look at the camera and smile. The director notes that the process is much harder than it looks given the unpredictable nature of infants. The current stage is a simple camera test to see which child shines the most on screen. They are evaluating how the children look under the lights and their ability to follow basic cues. The intense heat of the studio lights and the strange environment prove to be too much for most. Lee Jae-hee is called to the stage, representing the Deokpung paper family's pride. The staff whispers about the boy's background, recognizing his mother's influential status. Suddenly, the boy erupts into a loud, uncontrollable tantrum under the bright lights. The director worries they can't continue, but the mother insists her son will calm down soon. Despite the mother's protests, the director decides to move on to the next candidate, John Songuk. The staff lets out a sigh of frustration as the wealthy woman continues to argue. The director firmly orders his assistant to escort the crying child and his mother out of the room. He is determined to keep the audition on schedule despite the interruption. When Songuk's name is called, he is more than ready to step into the spotlight. The director signals for the test to begin, curious to see what the next child can do. Soyoung watches nervously from the sidelines, hoping her son will stay calm. The wealthy woman tries to shove her way back in, desperate to see who her son's rival is. The former chairman welcomes her gaze, wanting her to witness exactly why he is superior. He puts on a perfect, charming performance that immediately captivates everyone in the room. The director is stunned and frantically calls for his camera to capture the moment. He focuses all his attention on Songuk, sensing that he has found something truly special. He asks for different angles, and the baby responds with professional-level precision. Songuk even uses the provided props perfectly, making the shoot look effortless. The director exhales in pure satisfaction, knowing he has found his star. He openly declares the child a genius, unable to hide his excitement. He demands that the casting process start immediately for this remarkable infant. Soyoung can hardly believe her ears, shocked to hear her son being called a genius. The director rushes over to greet the mother, introducing himself as Kwak Jun-ha. He is effusive in his praise, practically begging to sign a contract on the spot. He asks if she has any specific terms in mind, desperate to secure the talented child. She is overwhelmed by the sudden attention and asks if her son truly possesses such talent. The director apologizes for his excitement but reiterates that the boy is a natural star. He explains that the baby seems to respond to every direction as if he were an adult. He is amazed that the infant understands his words, unaware that he actually does. He expresses his desire to work with the boy on multiple future projects. The wealthy mother of the previous child interrupts the scene with an angry outburst. She claims the process is unfair and that the winner shouldn't be decided before the final round. She refuses to accept that anyone but her son could possibly be the winner of the audition. The list for the final round is posted, narrowing the field down to Songuk and Jae-hee. The two families are asked to wait as preparations for the final test are made. The atmosphere in the waiting room is thick with tension and silent resentment. Soyoung is amazed that her son made it this far among so many other talented children. Despite the competition, she can't help but feel that her son truly outshone everyone else. She begins to feel the physical toll of the long, high-pressure day. An older woman notices Soyoung's discomfort and asks if she needs a moment to herself. Soyoung gratefully accepts the offer to watch the baby, while she quickly uses the restroom. She thanks the woman and rushes off, leaving Songuk in her temporary care. The woman admires the baby's charm, unaware that he is mentally critiquing his surroundings. Suddenly, the rich mother from earlier begins berating her own staff in a fit of rage. She is furious that her son is being compared to a nobody and threatens her employees. She questions their competence and loyalty in a loud, demeaning tone. She continues her tirade, and the baby realizes how toxic her personality truly is. He wishes he could personally put the arrogant woman in her place for her behavior. He overhears a quiet conversation between the assistant director and the wealthy mother. The assistant director approaches, looking for Songguk's guardian but finding her absent. He decides to speak with the wealthy woman instead, revealing a hidden agenda. She complains about the fairness of the competition, claiming her son should have already won. She reveals that the outcome was supposed to be decided in her favor from the start. The assistant director confirms the corruption, and the baby realizes the entire audition is a sham. He identifies it as a classic case of corporate favoritism designed to launch a wealthy child's career. The other children are merely being used as background extras to make the win look legitimate. They discuss keeping the arrangement a secret from the main director, who wouldn't approve. They acknowledge that the director's international reputation makes him difficult to control. The woman is confident because she hired a private tutor to prepare her son for the final lines. They believe that no untrained child can match the preparation they have put in. She begins practicing the specific audition lines with her son, trying to force a perfect delivery. She demands that he repeat the words after her to ensure he doesn't fail. The baby eavesdropping on them finds their desperate attempts at cheating quite pathetic. The final round begins, and the stakes are higher than ever for the two remaining candidates. The test involves seeing which baby can naturally vocalize the given lines and act. Soyoung returns and encourages her son, unaware of the rigged game being played. The cameras start rolling, and the final battle for the spotlight officially begins. The staff directs the baby's attention, scoring them on how well they follow the shoot. He knows exactly how to position himself to stay in the center of the frame and the director's eye. Jae-hee struggles and wanders off in the wrong direction, confusing the camera crew. The director decides to push the struggling child aside and focus on Songguk instead. He calls for the assistant to provide the lines for the verbal part of the test. The assistant is certain that Songguk will fail since he hasn't had the secret practice. He asks the baby to repeat the word for father, expecting nothing but silence. To everyone's shock, the baby clearly vocalizes the word with perfect timing. He repeats it with a charming smile, capturing the hearts of everyone in the studio. The director is ecstatic, feeling vindicated in his belief that the boy is a prodigy. The wealthy mother frantically demands that her son be given another chance to perform. The director reluctantly agrees, though his interest has clearly shifted elsewhere. Jae-hee attempts the word but only produces incoherent sounds and begins to struggle. The boy breaks down into a loud sob, failing the verbal test completely. His mother is in total disbelief, unable to accept the failure of her expensive training. She mutters about all the practice they did, accidentally hinting at her prior knowledge. The assistant director quickly tries to end the session before any more secrets are revealed. He feels a sense of victory, knowing that he performed perfectly while his rival failed. However, the final announcement reveals that Lee Jae-hee is the winner of the audition. He is stunned to see the name on the board, realizing the corruption went deeper than he thought. He knows that his performance was objectively better in every possible way. Soyoung is heartbroken and confused, knowing her son clearly outperformed the other boy. The wealthy woman mocks them, saying that cuteness alone isn't enough to be a professional. She insults them further, implying that they were foolish to even dream of winning. She tells them to learn their place in society and stop aiming for things beyond their reach. She condescendingly tells them that second place is a great achievement for people of their class. She dismisses them with a smug smile, believing she has won the ultimate battle. She orders her staff to leave, walking away with her unearned victory in hand. Soyoung is deeply hurt by the cruel words spoken in front of her innocent child. He remains calm, his mind already working on a way to turn this setback into an advantage. He knows that the story isn't over yet and that his plan is still in motion. His calculations prove correct as the main director suddenly rushes after them. Director Kwok Junha calls out to Soyoung, desperate to have a word before they leave. The wealthy mother is furious, demanding to know why the winner's mother is being ignored. He reflects on the corruption he saw in his past life and how money often buys positions. He knows there is no point in fighting a losing battle when a bigger prize is available. He focuses on building a direct connection with the influential director instead of the brand. The director is visibly upset, apologizing for the unfairness he witnessed in the decision. He admits that the results were rigged by higher-ups and expresses his sincere regret. He apologizes to the baby as well, feeling guilty for subjecting him to such a display. He invites them to the actual commercial shoot in a week, offering a new opportunity. He realizes that a one-time gig isn't enough. He needs a long-term partnership to build wealth. He decides to use the commercial to solidify his bond with the director and secure a future. He is determined to use his talents to provide for his new family and escape their poverty. Soyoung asks why they are needed if another child won the primary role. The director explains that they always need a reliable backup in case the lead baby gets sick. He admits he has no confidence in the winner and practically begs for their help. Soyoung eventually agrees, hoping the experience won't be too taxing on her son. He is fully supportive of the move, eager to get back onto a professional set. The director is amazed by how much the baby seems to understand, making his job easy. He asks for their contact information, already thinking about future projects for the boy. A week later, they arrive at a beautiful, secluded location for the commercial shoot. Soyoung is in awe of the stunning forest setting chosen for the advertisement. They are greeted by the production team as they prepare for the day's work. He recognizes the assistant director who helped rig the audition and prepares himself. The assistant feels a chill from the baby's gaze and tries to remain professional. He leads them to the waiting room, reminding them they are only there as backups. He directs them toward their designated area, trying to keep them out of the way. He spots a familiar product on set and is immediately intrigued by the project. It is the new Samjin washing machine, a product he remembers well from his past. He recalls it being a massive success that significantly boosted the company's stock. He realizes this commercial is for his own family's company and wonders who else is there. The wealthy mother arrives and is outraged to see the rejects present on the set. Soyoung stands her ground, explaining they were personally invited by the director. The assistant director nervously tries to justify their presence to the angry woman. She insists her son is in perfect health and that no substitutes will be necessary today. He looks at the other child and notes that the boy doesn't look ready for the task at hand. The woman tells them to disappear, but the commotion draws the attention of the lead actress. Famous actress Lim Seonmi appears, looking for the source of all the noise. She is the star of the commercial and asks to see the babies she will be working with. The staff introduces the lead child and the backup, Songguk, to the celebrity. She greets the babies warmly, trying to build a rapport for the upcoming scenes. Jae-hee reacts poorly, showing no interest in the actress and turning away. She is slightly disappointed by the lack of response from the primary child actor. She turns her attention to Songguk, and he immediately responds with a charming greeting. She is delighted by his affectionate nature and natural charisma. Soyoung proudly explains that her son is naturally very friendly and warm. The actress is so impressed that she asks if they can just shoot the commercial with him instead. The wealthy mother is horrified by the suggestion and reacts with a sharp, angry sound. She snaps at the actress, telling her to stop making such annoying and sudden suggestions. The atmosphere turns hostile as the two women face off over the casting choice. The mother demands to know who the actress thinks she is to change the plans. She is livid that her son is being overlooked once again in favor of Songguk. A powerful voice cuts through the argument, demanding to know the cause of the disturbance. Everyone freezes as a high-ranking executive from Samjin enters the room. He explains he came to oversee the shoot for the company's most important new product. He introduces himself with an air of absolute authority and confidence. The former chairman is frozen in shock as he comes face to face with his own father. John Jae-hyung, the vice chairman of Samjin, stands before his reincarnated son. He was a powerful figure, though he never quite reached the heights of his own father. He was known for being a capable leader who could navigate the company through crises. He was celebrated for his ability to restructure and modernize the organization. The media often praised him as a visionary leader for the future of the industry. To the public, he was a successful and brilliant corporate executive. However, the baby knows the truth. As a family man, he was a complete failure. Seeing him again brings back a flood of bitter and unpleasant memories. He recalls his father's many affairs and the cold way he treated his children. He remembers a specific moment from his childhood when he was introduced to a mistress. That woman was Lim Seonmi, the very actress who is standing right in front of him now. His father looks at the children and points toward Songguk as the one he prefers. He notes that the boy looks exceptionally smart and capable for his age. He offers a casual greeting to the infant, unaware of their true connection. The baby is overwhelmed by the irony of being praised by the man who was his father. He struggles with the bizarre reality of his father and his father's mistress being together. An assistant informs the vice chairman that it is time for him to prepare for his duties. He laughs and says his goodbyes, leaving the set to return to his corporate world. He tells the crew he is counting on them to deliver a perfect commercial for the company. The former tycoon is left reeling, filled with a mix of disgust and cold determination. She pledged to work tirelessly, knowing that as the wife of a paper company owner, defying a powerful corporate giant would be no easy feat. She recognized the true nature of Vice Chairman John Jae-hyung, understanding the man behind the title. He was a man of contrasts, a playboy in his downtime, yet a commanding corporate force when it mattered most. He placed his trust in the young child, looking toward the future they would build together. With those final thoughts, the moment came to a close. He called out to his father, the weight of their connection hanging in the air. He resolved to forge a new path, determined to live a life entirely different from his previous one. Now part of a real family, he vowed to protect those who had become his everything. Ambition burned within him as he dreamed of building an empire that would one day surpass even the greatest conglomerates. He whispered a silent promise that their paths would inevitably cross once more. The set hummed with energy as the crew announced the start of the high-stakes production. With the director arriving soon, the staff hurried to prepare while making sure the young mother was comfortable. The call went out for the young stars to take their places and prepare for their big moment. He decided to leave the shadows of the past behind and focus entirely on the present. He urged himself to stay sharp and concentrate on the vital task at hand. The vision for the advertisement was simple and heartwarming. A mother and child in a rustic forest cabin. The scene required the mother to wash a stained white shirt, symbolizing domestic care and effort. Utilizing the latest technology, the baby was meant to play joyfully against the freshly cleaned fabric. The script called for the child to nuzzle the brilliant white shirt and call out for his father in a moment of pure bliss. The commercial was designed to end on a refreshing note, showcasing a happy family and a gleaming appliance. He remembered this specific ad being a legendary success in his past life, winning prestigious awards for its brilliant execution. The child who originally starred in it became an overnight sensation, earning the title of Child Actor of the Year. He realized that this was a pivotal moment in history that he could claim for himself. Determination filled him as he decided that this life-changing opportunity belonged to him and no one else. Frustration mounted as the current infant on set began to act out, causing a scene. The baby's aggressive behavior and constant crying were quickly derailing the entire production. People were baffled by the sudden change in the child's demeanor, wondering what could have sparked such a tantrum. It was all part of a clever scheme. He had given the stressed child a tip on how to escape his mother's overbearing pressure. He had convinced the boy that by resisting the lead actress, he would be allowed to go home early. Despite being an infant, they had somehow formed a silent understanding that worked perfectly. The production reached a breaking point, leading the staff to call for the backup actor to take over. An argument erupted as the original child's mother protested, claiming her son had earned his spot fairly. The The crew countered that they couldn't work with a child who refused to cooperate and kept hitting the lead actress. Tensions flared as deadlines loomed, and the mother threatened the staff with her family's supposed influence. She boasted of her high-ranking connections, while he noted the outdated technology she used to make her empty threats. She screamed into her phone, demanding that the entire crew be fired on the spot. The air was thick with the sound of heavy breathing and mounting anger. Shock and confusion rippled through the onlookers as the situation escalated. She demanded to know what they thought they were doing by challenging her authority. A voice cut through the noise, expressing disdain for outsiders who disrupted the professional flow of the set. She was told to take her child and leave, regardless of her self-importance as a wealthy socialite. The lead actress took charge, calling for the director to resume the shoot immediately. She pointed toward the young boy, insisting that she wanted to film the scene with him instead. The request was repeated with even more conviction, signaling a turning point for the production. She made it clear that she saw something special in the young boy and refused to work with anyone else. The director gave the order for everyone to stand by, shocking the crowd with the sudden change in plans. The disgruntled mother was livid, unable to believe her child was being replaced by someone she deemed inferior. She hurled insults at the young boy, predicting that the entire commercial would be a humiliating failure. As the camera turned toward him, he felt a familiar chill from the red light that had dominated his previous existence. He recalled the frantic energy of his past life as a CEO, surrounded by cameras and constant pressure. The ghosts of reporters past seemed to echo in his mind, demanding statements for the shareholders. He realized that his seasoned experience in front of the lens was now his greatest weapon. With professional ease, he delivered a perfect performance, making the laundry product look absolutely magical. The lead actress played along perfectly, asking the baby about the freshness of the clothes. The moment arrived for the child to speak his first scripted line. He called out for his father with such perfect timing that it left the entire crew breathless. The set erupted in quiet adoration at the sheer cuteness and precision of the performance. The director barked orders to keep the cameras locked on the boy, capturing every brilliant detail. His professional gaze was fixed perfectly on the lens, showing a level of focus that shouldn't be possible for a baby. The crew was left wondering how a mere infant could possess such incredible acting instincts. The director praised the lead actress while remaining in total awe of the young boy's talent. They moved quickly to the next scene, where the mother was to hold the baby and announce the completion of the task. The actress delivered her lines with newfound energy, buoyed by the child's incredible performance. The promotional message was delivered flawlessly, emphasizing the reliability of the brand. The director called for a stop, sensing they had captured something truly special. The final cut was announced, signaling the end of a legendary session. The rival mother was in a state of total disbelief, unable to process what had just happened. She ranted about how unfair it was to replace her child just because the other boy was naturally charming. The staff bluntly pointed out that her child had failed to perform, while the newcomer had excelled. They chose to ignore her tantrums, focusing instead on the success of the day. The lead actress remained unbothered by the woman's screaming, knowing the results spoke for themselves. It was a simple matter of talent. One child could act, and the other couldn't, regardless of their family's wealth. The crew marveled at the fact that they finished a complex shoot in just 2 takes, a feat practically unheard of. The angry mother continued to scream about the money she had invested in what she now called a crappy production. She turned her fury toward the staff, accusing them of taking bribes to sideline her son. Suspicion fell on the assistant director, as the accusation of bribery hung heavy in the air. The lead director promised a stern investigation into the matter once the shoot was officially wrapped. He dismissed the drama, realizing that a mediocre commercial was beneath his long-term ambitions. She threatened legal action against everyone present, but her words were met with nothing but pity. The director approached the boy's mother, offering a kind apology for the chaotic events of the day. She brushed it off with a humble smile, acknowledging the hard work of the entire production crew. The director expressed profound gratitude, knowing the boy had essentially saved the entire project. They were told that no more filming would be needed and that their payment would be processed immediately. The young mother looked down at her son, ready to finally head home after a long day. Exhaustion finally began to set in, and the idea of collapsing into bed seemed like a dream. The lead actress called out to the mother, stopping them before they could leave. She offered them a ride in her private van, a gesture of genuine kindness and appreciation. The boy had already fallen into a deep sleep, worn out from his masterful performance. The mother was overwhelmed by the luxury of the car, while the actress insisted the thanks belonged to the boy. She was confused, wondering why a top star would be so grateful to a young child. The actress explained that the boy had behaved like a seasoned lead, allowing everyone to finish their work early. She had noticed how he instinctively tracked the camera, showing a professional understanding of the medium. He had even adjusted his positioning to ensure the lead actress was captured at her most flattering angles. It was as if he knew exactly which side of her face looked best on screen. He had completely dominated the scene, demonstrating a natural grasp of the shoot's entire flow. To the veteran actress, the boy wasn't just a child. He was already a fully fledged professional actor. The mother sat in shock, struggling to process that her son possessed such extraordinary abilities. Based on that talent, the actress revealed she had a significant proposal to make. She presented an offer that had the potential to change the family's life forever. The mother was left speechless, her eyes wide with total disbelief. She couldn't wrap her mind around the reality of the situation. The sheer amount of money being offered was more than she had ever imagined possible. Though the original fee was lower, the director had fought to increase it as a reward for his stellar work. He realized that this was the breakthrough he had been waiting for. He knew child acting was a goldmine. Making this much money at his age was the ultimate shortcut to success. This capital was exactly what he needed to start building his future through stocks and investments. The parents were in awe, staring at a sum of money they had never held in their entire lives. The landlady arrived, sensing that something was wrong with the emotional young mother. She explained that the lead actress had left them a contact for a major entertainment agency. It was no wonder the mother was in shock, given the prestige of the name on the card. The name belonged to one of the most powerful agencies in the entire industry. It was clear that the star had been genuinely impressed by the boy's potential. They wanted to sign him as an exclusive child actor, launching him directly into stardom. The idea of their son becoming a famous celebrity felt like a surreal dream to the parents. They were torn, wanting the best for their child but feeling overwhelmed by the unexpected path. Their priority was his happiness, yet the magnitude of the offer made them hesitate. The landlady offered to use her connections to look into the agency and protect their interests. She was familiar with the company's reputation and knew how the industry operated behind the scenes. She promised to investigate the leadership and how they truly treated their talent. The parents were deeply moved that their landlady would go to such lengths to help them. She urged them to relax and celebrate the incredible success of the boy's commercial debut. With the ad set to air in 2 weeks, she headed off to handle her own business. The mother called out to her, stopping her for one more question. The landlady turned back, wondering if the young mother was still feeling anxious about the future. She asked why she was being so supportive and helpful to their small family. She couldn't understand why someone would step up so selflessly to champion the boy's talent. The landlady simply stated that she wanted to be a pillar of support for them. Having grown up with nothing and faced many hardships, she had a soft spot for those working to build a life. Watching the young couple strive for a better future reminded her of her own journey. She felt a natural urge to cheer them on and help them succeed in any way she could. She downplayed her kindness as being nosy, telling them not to feel any pressure to repay her. The young mother asked if she could consider her an older sister, seeking a deeper familial bond. The landlady was taken aback by the heartfelt request, moved by the sincerity in the woman's voice. She expressed a desire for them to be like real family, sharing meals and supporting one another. The warmth of the family touched her heart, making her feel less alone in the world. They shared a joyful moment, marking the beginning of a beautiful new relationship. They agreed to address each other with the familiarity of sisters, solidifying their bond. He watched them from a distance, curious about the conversation while he enjoyed the day. The weather was perfect, matching the hopeful atmosphere surrounding the family. 2 weeks passed quickly, and the day finally arrived for the commercial to air. They closed up their workspace early, eager to gather and witness the big moment. The shop owner, a kind man who knew the family well, joined in the excitement. They were incredibly grateful to him for closing his business just so they could watch the ad together. Even the older man was anxious to see the boy's debut, treating him like his own grandson. Despite the unwanted physical affection from the old man, he decided to tolerate it just for this special day. A newcomer arrived just in time, breathless and excited to join the viewing party. They welcomed her warmly, ushering her into the room as the broadcast was about to start. The group felt like they were at a private movie screening, united by their pride in the young boy. Everyone took their seats as the television flickered, signaling the start of the commercial break. The screen showed a gloomy scene of stained clothes, setting the stage for the product's reveal. The narrator's voice asked a dramatic question about how to solve the laundry problem. Cheers erupted as the boy's face finally appeared on the screen, looking more adorable than ever. The ad showcased the power of the new spin cycle, turning dingy shirts into brilliant white. The actress on screen smiled warmly at the baby, highlighting the soft results of the wash. The boy's voice rang out clearly, calling for his father and melting the hearts of everyone watching. The room exploded with praise, everyone agreeing that the commercial was an absolute masterpiece. They were in awe of the production quality, realizing the boy was the true star of the show. The landlady noted the expert editing, predicting that the ad was a strong contender for major awards. The father was overwhelmed with emotion, expressing his immense pride in his son's achievement. He joked about how such a beautiful child could possibly be related to him, earning a playful rebuke. A phone call interrupted the celebration, catching the shop owner by surprise. He was shocked by the identity of the person on the other end of the line. It was the director of the commercial, calling to find the family during their celebration. He explained that an urgent and exciting opportunity had arisen that required an immediate discussion. He asked for a meeting right away, sensing that time was of the essence for this new project. The family welcomed the director and his team, thankful that they had traveled so far to see them. The parents were honored to be invited to the studio, eager to hear what the director had to say. He greeted the boy warmly, checking in to see how the young star was doing after his big debut. The boy recognized the director and called out to him, surprising everyone with his development. They marveled at how much his vocabulary had grown in such a short period. He was constantly babbling now, clearly on the verge of speaking in full, coherent sentences. The director was thrilled, realizing they could start giving the boy more complex dialogue for future roles. Internally, he knew he would soon be delivering lines like a seasoned professional, exceeding all expectations. Everyone sat down to discuss the boy's future, with the director noting his impressive growth. He revealed a proposal for a new television program where the boy would be the central star. The show was a childcare variety program, a concept that was destined to become a hit. The premise involved a famous idol group living with and caring for the young boy. Anticipation built as the director prepared to announce which famous group would be participating. A group of charismatic young men entered the room, offering a polite and energetic greeting. Their leader introduced himself, radiating the charm of a top-tier idol. He expressed his excitement about the collaboration, looking forward to working with the family. The mother's reaction was one of pure fangirl excitement, much to the amusement of those around her. The idol was flattered to be recognized, though he humbly admitted they still had much to learn. He spoke of their aspirations to become the nation's top group, asking for the family's support. The mother was fully on board, praising their talents and predicting their inevitable rise to the top. The father felt a twinge of jealousy at his wife's enthusiasm for the handsome idols. They were told that the rest of the group would be introduced once the official filming began. It seemed like a dream come true, and the mother was ready to start immediately. The father, however, worried about the pressure such a show might place on their young son. The director insisted that the boy was the secret weapon and the key to the show's potential success. He praised the child's ability to empathize and his uncanny focus in front of the camera. He couldn't imagine anyone else for the role, and the parents finally agreed to the opportunity. He remembered this show from his past life. It was the one that revolutionized the variety genre. The combination of a charming baby and struggling idols was a formula that captivated the nation. Viewers had loved watching the idols face the challenges of childcare, making it a massive hit. He knew it would become a cultural sensation, sparking an entire genre of similar programming. This was the perfect vehicle for his ultimate goal, achieving massive fame and accumulating wealth. He showed his enthusiasm for the project, making the director laugh with his apparent approval. Despite the excitement, the father still harbored deep concerns about his son's upbringing. He worried that a life in the spotlight would rob the boy of a normal, happy childhood. He wanted his son to be a regular kid, loved for who he was rather than his celebrity status. The idol leader spoke up, showing a deep and personal understanding of those parental fears. Having been a child actor himself, he knew exactly what it was like to grow up in the public eye. He shared that despite the challenges, he had no regrets about following his passion. The environment had allowed his talents to shine, leading him to a successful and fulfilling career. He encouraged the father to trust in his son's natural abilities and let him find his own path. He argued that a child with a gift for performing should be given every chance to shine brightly. The father looked at his son, seeing the beauty and talent that everyone was so captivated by. He finally relented, accepting that his son's destiny might be to reach the highest peaks of fame. He entrusted his son to the director's care, officially starting their journey into reality TV. Preparation for the show began, with contracts being signed and schedules being meticulously planned. From concept shoots to final preparations, the countdown to the first day of filming was underway. The day finally arrived, marking the official start of their legendary television journey. The idol group introduced themselves with their signature flair, ready to begin the experiment. Each member was introduced, bringing their own unique personality and style to the group. Jaehyun.Byeomseon. The diverse lineup was complete, each of them eager to meet their new little brother. They greeted the boy and his parents with warmth, promising to do their best for the show. The mother was thrilled to be around her favorite idols, while the father remained protective. Filming was set to take place at the idols' own dormitory, promising an authentic look at their lives. The director emphasized the high expectations for the program, urging everyone to stay focused. He told them not to worry about a script, wanting the interactions to be as real and natural as possible. He recognized these idols from his past life, remembering their future careers as successful actors. He recalled their group performing at his corporate events when he was a powerful executive. It was strange to see them now, as they looked down at him with curiosity and wonder. One member made a comment about him not being as cute as he expected, sparking immediate tension. He was offended by the careless attitude, mentally putting the idol in his place. Another member scolded the first for his lack of hygiene, pointing out he had been smoking. He realized that this particular member was still the same troublemaker he remembered from the past. He decided then and there to take control of the narrative, shaping the show to his own advantage. Most of the group was already smitten with him, finding his presence absolutely adorable. He smirked inwardly, knowing that he was the one truly in charge of the show's success. Later, the family was invited to a meeting at a high-end office, where they were made to feel welcome. The head of a major agency thanked them for coming, his tone polished and professional. The parents were curious about why a top executive wanted to meet with them so urgently. The executive spoke of the boy as if he were already a major star, hinting at big plans. He mentioned something good for the boy's future, piquing their interest and their caution. The discussion turned to a formal contract, an exclusive deal with the country's leading agency. He boasted about his company's power, positioning it as the ultimate gateway to success in the industry. He proposed a 10-year exclusive contract, a staggering length of time for such a young child. The parents were stunned by the duration, realizing the weight of such a long-term commitment. He dropped names of legendary stars who were already with the agency to sway their decision. He claimed the terms were highly favorable, while the landlady stepped in to scrutinize the document. She quickly identified the predatory nature of the deal, specifically the unfair profit-sharing model. The agency was demanding a massive 70% cut, leaving very little for the actual talent. She was outraged, calling it out for what it truly was, an exploitative slave contract. He realized the executive was trying to prey on their lack of industry knowledge to steal his future earnings. He recognized the man from his past life and knew exactly how corrupt he truly was. This man had once been a close associate of his father, using stars to curry favor with the powerful. His father had funneled lucrative ad deals to this agency in exchange for their unwavering loyalty. The relationship was built on a foundation of mutual greed and corporate backscratching. He remembered the man's eventual downfall, ending up in prison for the abuse of his own artists. The executive continued his pitch, claiming the boy had a talent he had never seen in his entire career. He promised to nurture him, but the boy knew the truth. They only wanted to exploit him while he was young. Their plan was to milk him for every cent of advertising revenue and discard him once he grew older. The mother spoke up with a firm and steady voice, ready to give her final answer. She flatly declined the offer, much to the executive's shock and the landlady's pride. He was insulted, demanding to know why they would turn down such a generous opportunity. The landlady laid out the facts. The profit split was absurd and the contract length was predatory. She stated firmly that the boy's value would only grow, and they wouldn't be locked into such a bad deal. He tried to intimidate them, suggesting they were too ignorant to understand how the business worked. He claimed the market for child actors was small and that his value would drop as he aged. The mother was disgusted that he would say such cruel things right in front of her son. Tensions reached a breaking point as the executive's professional facade began to crumble. He mentally fired back, mocking the man's own looks and predicting his inevitable irrelevance. He asserted his own future greatness while his mother tried to keep the peace. The landlady dismissed the executive's lack of foresight, signaling that the meeting was over. He turned his venom toward the landlady, questioning her right to be involved in the family's business. He tried to dismiss her as an outsider, but the mother corrected him with a surprising revelation. She announced that the landlady was not just a friend, but the boy's official manager. The landlady stood her ground, using her advertising background to dismantle his lies and confirm the contract's unfairness. With heads held high, they left the office, leaving the corrupt executive fuming in their wake. He shouted a desperate threat, warning them that they would regret crossing him. He claimed he had the power to blackball them from the entire entertainment industry. They weren't intimidated, knowing the man was nothing more than a common thug whose time was running out. Cease. The landlady confirmed what they all felt. The man was a piece of trash who didn't deserve their time. She was appalled that he would threaten a pregnant woman, proving he had no shred of humanity. The mother worried about her friend, but the landlady was more concerned for the family's well-being. She reassured them that such people were common in the business and that they were right to walk away. They decided to head home together, already planning their next move as a team. The mother made a formal request for her to become her son's permanent, professional manager. She was surprised, but he knew it was the smartest decision they could possibly make. In his experience, talent was easy to find, but someone truly trustworthy was a rare treasure. She had the knowledge and, more importantly, the integrity to protect his interests. A person who was both competent and loyal was the greatest asset any star could have. She hesitated, worried that she wasn't an expert, but the boy showed his support for her. He reached out to her, signaling his own desire for her to join his inner circle. Songguk. Sis, it looks like Songguk likes you too. The parents pleaded for her help, trusting her above anyone else to navigate the treacherous industry. Moved by their faith in her, she realized she had found a new dream to pursue. She officially accepted the role, vowing to do her absolute best to protect the boys' bright future. They celebrated their new partnership, dreaming of the success and fortune they would build together. Back at the agency, a subordinate reported on the woman who had dared to stand up to the CEO. He dismissed her as a mere landlady, underestimating the power of the bond she shared with the family. He vowed to make things difficult for them, wanting to show them the dark side of the industry. He ordered his staff to call the reporters, ready to start a smear campaign against the rising star. Meanwhile, on the set of the show, a light-hearted argument broke out among the idols. One member complained that all the snacks were being given to the boy, bringing a moment of levity to their new life. The set was in chaos as the toddler stuffed himself with food, sparking a loud argument over his bottomless appetite. A playful struggle broke out over a banana, while the adults watched Michael's unbelievable behavior in exasperation. The tension rose when the young boy seemingly struck his older peer, leaving everyone shocked at the sudden physical outburst. An authoritative voice finally cut through the noise, demanding that the bickering stop immediately. The director called for a halt to the action, signaling the end of the current scene. With the morning shoot wrapped up, the crew was dismissed for a much-needed lunch break. The director called out for Songguk and his mother to discuss the day's progress. She responded immediately, acknowledging the director's call. He inquired if the long hours on set were becoming a burden, but she insisted that the filming process remained thrilling and fun. He reminded her to prioritize her health during her pregnancy and to speak up if she felt overwhelmed. They discussed her upcoming due date, noting that the new addition to the family was expected around the turn of the year. The conversation shifted toward Michael, raising concerns about his recent behavior on set. While the audience loved the duo's constant bickering, the director worried that their rivalry was becoming too intense. Even the staff noticed Michael was pushing boundaries, prompting the director to check if the family was truly comfortable. She expressed full confidence in the director's management, finding the boys' petty squabbles more entertaining than upsetting. The staff offered their sincere gratitude for her continued cooperation and patience. With the meeting concluded, it was finally time for the group to grab a meal. Despite the frequent filming sessions, the mother admitted she still hadn't fully adjusted to the hectic environment. Feeling the effects of a banana-heavy diet, the young star began to feel sluggish and ready for a nap. A playful comment was made about the boy's cheeky attitude as he fought off his sleepiness. The older boy confronted him, still annoyed about being hit during the earlier shoot. Insults were traded back and forth, with neither side willing to back down from the petty argument. Michael claimed he was only playing along with the mischievous act, unaware that the public found their love-hate dynamic adorable. He warned the toddler that he was watching him closely and threatened to teach him a lesson for crossing the line. He muttered about the child's temper, calling him a crazy baby under his breath. He let out a frustrated click of his tongue, clearly annoyed by the situation. A groan of irritation followed as the tension between the two continued to simmer. He questioned the child's sanity, baffled by the toddler's bold and unpredictable behavior. He told the boy to be quiet, dismissing his complaints just as a manager intervened. Startled by the sudden interruption, he turned to see who was calling his name. The manager demanded to know if he had just physically harassed the young star. He tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, but the manager stood firm in defense of the boy's character. A stern warning was issued to Michael, telling him to keep his hands off the child during filming. He questioned why everyone treated the brat with such reverence, unable to hide his growing jealousy. The manager pointed out that Michael's own recent commercial success was entirely due to the child's popularity. He was ordered to act like a professional and maintain a strict distance from the baby. The manager made it clear that no further warnings would be given regarding his conduct. He stood there in stunned silence, unable to believe he was being reprimanded. Rage boiled over as he processed the perceived insult to his pride. He vented his frustration, claiming he came to the country for his art, not to play babysitter. Feeling isolated by the other members, he began to plot a way to sabotage the entire show. He convinced himself that he didn't need the program to achieve the success he desired. He answered a call dismissively, claiming to be far too busy for distractions. His tone changed instantly when he heard the name of a powerful entertainment agency on the other end. He was invited to take a seat for a high-level meeting. The director welcomed everyone to a special production meeting to discuss the show's future. Taeyong was praised for making time in his busy schedule to represent the group. The production team expressed their deep appreciation for Songguk's family, treating them like kin. Before diving into business, the director handed out a performance bonus as a reward for their hard work. Celebrations were in order as the show's viewership finally broke the impressive 30% mark. With the finale approaching, the team was urged to maintain their momentum for the final episodes. The main agenda shifted to the production of a high-stakes Christmas special episode. The network requested a 90-minute family-friendly broadcast to celebrate the holiday season. The director noted the boy's physical progress, impressed by his daily dedication to growth and training. The plan involved dressing the cast in festive outfits for a grand holiday celebration. The vision included a lively party where the toddler and the idols would dance together. The boy seemed thrilled by the idea, but the meeting was suddenly interrupted by an urgent matter. A staff member burst in, announcing that a serious problem had arisen. A damaging article about the boy's family had begun to circulate online. The news claimed the parents were exploitative, sparking a massive controversy in the media. The news cycle moved aggressively, pushing the sensational story to the forefront of the public eye. The media focused on the shocking allegations, making the family the center of a national scandal. Reports claimed the young star was suffering under the greed of his own parents. While the director knew the claims were baseless, the damage to the family's reputation was already done. Public concern grew rapidly, putting immense pressure on the production team and the family. Anxiety filled the room as they wondered how to handle the sudden crisis. The director tried to stay calm, dismissing the report as a common tabloid tactic used against successful shows. He promised to investigate the source of the leak and find a way to clear their names. Reassurances were given to the family, urging them to stay strong through the storm. The mother looked at her son, worried about how this would affect his future. The toddler spoke up, surprising everyone with his sudden interjection. He addressed the director directly, his voice carrying an unusual weight. A staff member scolded the boy for his perceived rudeness, not understanding the gravity of his words. The boy recognized the negative press as a calculated power struggle within the industry. He urged them to identify the enemy's motives and strike back before more damage could be done. He insisted that the director use his personal connections to resolve the matter decisively. The director was struck by the child's insight, realizing the boy was absolutely right. He accepted full responsibility, promising that the network would handle the legal fallout. To avoid the prying eyes of reporters, the family was advised to stay indoors for the time being. It was decided that the boy should take a break from filming to escape the media circus. The manager stepped in, offering to take the boy under her personal protection. The parents agreed, trusting the manager to keep their son safe during the transition. The team vowed to resolve the conflict quickly and restore the family's honor. They clung to the hope that the dark period would soon be over. A staff member called out to the director to share a new discovery. He asked if the discussion regarding the article had already concluded. New information regarding the source of the leak had finally surfaced. An insider report claimed the parents were interfering on set, mirroring the false claims in the media. Suspicions turned toward a potential traitor within the staff, leading to a tense confrontation. The accused staff member denied any involvement, leaving the true identity of the rat a mystery. The holiday season arrived, bringing a spirit of charity and togetherness to the city. People gathered to celebrate Christmas, surrounded by falling snow and festive lights. The snowy Christmas Eve provided a beautiful, if bittersweet, backdrop for the unfolding drama. A strange sight caught someone's attention in the middle of the night. A suspicious figure in sunglasses and heavy winter gear moved through the shadows. A sudden sound from the darkness startled the onlookers. They realized it was a baby's voice and tried to keep the child quiet to avoid detection. The mother worried that leaving the house was a mistake, fearing they might be spotted. She admitted she had grown restless and simply wanted to breathe some fresh air with her son. A quiet evening walk to meet her husband seemed like a harmless way to find comfort. She pleaded with the boy to stay in his stroller, warning that being seen would cause a major scene. The boy felt humiliated, hating the fact that he was forced to hide in a stroller like a common infant. Nearby, fans were overheard discussing the latest episode of the show. They praised the Christmas special, completely unaware that the star was right next to them. They gushed over the idol's festive outfits and the boy's undeniable charm. The fans laughed about the boy's funny expressions during the shoot, calling him a natural. They couldn't get enough of his adorable appearance, sharing their love for him enthusiastically. The boy took pride in their good taste, glad to see that some people still supported him. The conversation took a dark turn as the fans mentioned the scandalous articles. They discussed the latest rumors of greed and cunning, questioning if a toddler could truly be so manipulative. Doubts began to creep in as some people wondered if the boy was too self-aware for his age. The boy called out to his mother, sensing her growing distress. She turned, her eyes filled with tears as she looked at her husband. He was shocked to find his family out in the cold, worried for their safety. He urged them to get inside, concerned that the harsh weather and rumors were taking a toll. He rushed to his wife's side, desperate to comfort her as she broke down. He realized the public was being swayed by the lies and decided a drastic countermeasure was needed. He explained the gravity of the situation to his family, preparing them for what was to come. As the head of the household, he vowed to protect his wife and son at any cost. The director apologized for the network's inability to silence the persistent reporters. They agreed that staying silent was no longer an option and that action had to be taken. He proposed a bold plan to face the allegations head-on and reveal the truth. He asked the parents if they were brave enough to confront their accusers in public. The solution was a high-stakes live interview to address the nation directly. The family braced themselves for the challenge of a live broadcast to clear their names. On the final day of the year, the cameras prepared to roll for the truth. The idols introduced themselves, maintaining their professional image for the special broadcast. They reflected on the year spent with the young star, noting how quickly time had passed. The group invited the audience to enjoy the year-end special as their journey neared its end. The director reassured the parents that the interview was the only way to end the controversy for good. He promised a controlled environment to help ease their nerves before the cameras went live. They were told to rest as the crew performed the final equipment checks. The husband reached out to his wife, sensing her overwhelming anxiety. He offered a sincere apology for the hardship the family was enduring. The broadcast began with a plea for continued support from their loyal fans. The live feed went active, signaling the start of the most important moment of their lives. The director prepared to begin the interview process slowly and carefully. The husband expressed his guilt for putting his pregnant wife through such a stressful ordeal. She insisted that she wanted to fight for their son, proud of her husband for standing up. He looked at her with pure admiration, calling her the best partner he could ask for. The family was surprised by the suddenness of the live event, but they stood ready. They admitted that the decision to go live was a bold and unexpected move. They felt like ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary and terrifying spotlight. Despite the fear, they knew they had to be strong for the sake of their son. He complimented his wife's beauty, trying to boost her confidence before the cameras. They looked at their precious son, drawing strength from his innocent presence. They promised to protect him and erase every single lie that had been told. The boy wondered if all this effort was truly just for his benefit. He felt the weight of the cameras, noticing how even his parents were shaking with nerves. The director arrived to oversee the start of the high-pressure interview. He checked one last time to ensure everything was in place for the broadcast. A sudden realization hit that the quiet interview had turned into a media circus. They had intended to clarify things peacefully, but a horde of reporters had gathered outside. It became clear that someone on the inside had leaked the location to the press. The director was called upon to handle the escalating chaos outside the doors. Taeyong appeared, shocked to see the massive crowd of journalists waiting for them. He urged them to cancel the event, fearing the overwhelming pressure on the family. It was too late to turn back, as the crowd began to surge toward the building. Reporters shouted questions, demanding to know the truth behind the scandalous articles. They aggressively cornered the parents, showing no regard for their privacy or health. The father pleaded for silence, trying to protect his wife from the noise. He begged the press to stop the shouting and the blinding camera flashes for the sake of his wife. He promised to answer everything if they would only remain calm and professional. He began his statement by addressing the malicious rumors that had plagued their lives. He shared their humble beginnings, revealing that both he and his wife were raised in an orphanage. He spoke of their hard work and the pride they took in building a life from nothing. He credited a kind neighbor for discovering his son's talent, emphasizing their honest path. He declared passionately that they were not greedy parents exploiting their child. He begged the world to stop hurting his family with lies, but some remained skeptical. Cynical reporters demanded proof of their finances, showing a lack of basic empathy. The crowd grew hostile, demanding evidence to support the family's claims. The boy watched as his parents were attacked by the heartless crowd. Unable to stay silent, the toddler decided he had seen enough. He stepped forward and told the reporters to stop bullying his mother and father. He wished he could voice his full anger, but his young age limited his ability to vent. The director realized it was time to intervene and end the spectacle. He ordered the cameras to stop, bringing the traumatic interview to a sudden close. The boy checked on his father, making sure he was all right after the confrontation. The father apologized for his lack of eloquence, but the son was proud of his effort. The boy turned his attention to his mother, noticing she looked pale and pained. She gripped her stomach, her voice trembling as she called out to her husband. A wave of panic hit as she realized the stress had triggered her labor. She gasped out that the contractions had started, sending the room into a frenzy. Medical help was called as she was urged to breathe through the intense pain. Her husband promised they would reach the hospital in time, urging her to hold on. The boy watched in fear, wishing there was something he could do to take away her pain. He felt helpless, having no knowledge of childbirth from his current or past lives. He searched his mind for any way to be useful during the medical emergency. He cheered his mother on, begging her to stay strong for the new baby. In the quiet aftermath, a new life had finally entered the world. Everyone marveled at the adorable newborn, a symbol of hope after the storm. The mother was praised for her incredible strength throughout the ordeal. She expressed her gratitude, feeling much better now that her baby was safe. People noted the striking beauty of the new infant, comparing him to his famous brother. They couldn't help but admire the baby's chubby cheeks and perfect features. The older brother watched protectively, wary of anyone getting too close. He warned them not to touch the newborn with unwashed hands, acting like a true guardian. He insisted on strict hygiene, surprising everyone with his sudden maturity. The staff was impressed by how quickly he had stepped into the role of a big brother. He reflected on his past life siblings, vowing to raise this one better than his old rivals. He looked at the tiny infant and promised to guide him properly in this life. The director asked for permission to document the touching moment between the siblings. The public's reaction to the live broadcast was overwhelmingly supportive and concerned. The family agreed to the photos, hoping to share their joy with their loyal supporters. The mother inquired about the fallout from the interview and the source of the rumors. The director assured her that the matter was being settled behind the scenes. He confronted the person responsible, demanding a full explanation for their betrayal. Michael was caught red-handed with incriminating evidence on his person. The director revealed they had tracked the leaks back to Michael's suspicious activities. It was clear that he had been feeding private information to the greedy reporters. Michael tried to deny it, but his frequent disappearances had already raised red flags. He had been followed by the staff, who gathered undeniable proof of his treachery. His secret meetings with a rival CEO were finally brought to light. The director questioned his relationship with the man who sought to destroy the show. It was revealed that the slander was a calculated attack coordinated by the rival agency. The voicemails on his pager confirmed his direct involvement in the conspiracy. He was accused of helping a thug torment an innocent family for his own gain. The director demanded to know what he could possibly have been thinking. He warned Michael and the rival CEO that they would face severe legal consequences. The media soon turned on the rival CEO, demanding answers for his unethical tactics. He tried to claim ignorance, but the evidence against him was far too mounting. The downfall of the corrupt agency and the traitorous idol began in earnest. The group leader promised to bring Michael to apologize personally for his actions. The network and agency offered to cover all medical expenses as a gesture of goodwill. They offered further help, but the father insisted that clearing their name was enough. The family enjoyed the peace of their private room, happy to be together again. The father's only wish was for the rumors to vanish so they could live in peace. The public's perception had shifted completely, with everyone now cheering for the family. Legal action was taken against the dishonest reporters to ensure justice was served. The family was given a 2-month break to focus on recovery and the new baby. They worried about the show, but were told that pre-recorded footage would cover the gap. They were urged to rest and enjoy their time away from the spotlight. 2 months later, the boy was seen expertly caring for his little brother as spring arrived. Time had flown by, and the cherry blossoms were already beginning to bloom. The beautiful weather brought exciting news about the show's highly anticipated return. The nation's favorite baby was finally ready to make his comeback. The official announcement for the show's resumption was met with widespread joy. A mysterious woman watched the boy on screen, her interest piqued by his talent. Her husband asked what she was watching so intently. She pointed out the boy, noting that he seemed strangely familiar. She identified him as the young star everyone was talking about. He recalled meeting the child during a previous commercial shoot. He remembered the boy's unusual presence and the impact he had on set. He mused about the child's intriguing nature, wondering what made him so special. She claimed the boy had a certain quality that was impossible to ignore. She praised him as a once-in-a-generation genius with the potential to be a great actor. He questioned if the hype was real or if the boy was just a passing trend. She reminded him of her own eye for talent, insisting the boy was the real deal. She noted that the rival company's attempt to exploit him had backfired spectacularly. He asked if she was planning to leave her current company due to their poor management. She confirmed she was terminating her contract to seek better opportunities elsewhere. He inquired about her next move and if she had a new agency in mind. She hinted at an interesting plan, deciding to take her time and observe the market. She suggested that investing in the young boy's future would be a wise move. He agreed that such an investment could lead to something truly extraordinary. Back at the house, the manager called everyone together for a warm meal. Seaweed soup was served, a traditional and nourishing choice for the family. The boy was served first, his eyes lighting up at the delicious scent. He praised the food, surprised by the manager's impressive culinary skills. The manager's hidden talents continued to impress the grateful family. The mother thanked her for the constant care and support during her recovery. The manager insisted it was only natural for her to look after her star client's family. The mother felt bad for the free rent and food, but the manager brushed off her concerns. She emphasized that they were more than just business associates, they were family. She urged them to accept her help without guilt, cementing their deep bond. A playful refusal of a hug ended the emotional moment with a laugh. The toddler helped feed his little brother, who was already trying to mimic his every move. The parents noted how much easier things were now that the brothers were bonding. The boy reflected on the last 2 months, realizing that parenting was an exhausting challenge. He wondered why the baby never seemed to stop crying or find a way to sleep. He felt overwhelmed by the constant need for attention, even during his briefest breaks. He joked about his past life's expectations, realizing his new brother was quite a handful. Despite the chaos, the mother believed no child was more devoted than her oldest son. Her husband gently reminded her not to overdo the praise. The toddler looked at his brother with a mix of exhaustion and affection. He sighed, accepting his role as the responsible older sibling. He decided to help feed the baby just this once, earning a happy coup in return. The parents laughed at the sight of a baby taking care of a baby, feeling truly blessed. They marveled at their son's filial nature, grateful for his help and spirit. The manager brought up the topic of moving to a new, larger home. She pointed out that their current place was becoming too small for a family of 4. The parents worried about the cost, but the manager hinted that a windfall was coming. She leaned in to share some incredible news that would change their lives. A global electronics giant had reached out with a massive proposal for the boy. They wanted him to be their exclusive model, a deal of a lifetime. The parents were stunned by the mention of such a prestigious brand. She promised to share the contract details soon, urging them to consider the offer. This was the massive opportunity they needed to secure their family's future. They were left speechless as they sat down to a meal that felt like a celebration. They prepared to return to the broadcasting station for their first meeting in months. A car arrived to pick them up, but the person inside was a shocking surprise. The driver looked at the family, acknowledging the time that had passed. They questioned if the person was really from the station. The figure revealed themselves, greeting the family after their long absence. A familiar name was whispered in disbelief. Michael stood before them, leaving everyone completely frozen in shock. They couldn't believe their eyes as they looked at the person who betrayed them. The tension returned instantly as his presence brought back painful memories. They demanded to know why he would dare to show his face again. The memory of his betrayal and his alliance with their enemy flooded back in an instant. He questioned the sudden arrival, wondering what could possibly bring him back at such a tense moment. Panic set in as he wondered if this was a play for revenge, frantically trying to process the situation. The silence was broken by a cheerful greeting as Taeyong announced his return after their long time apart. It was clear that the unexpected guest had caught everyone off guard with his sudden appearance. They explained their presence was a gesture of apology and a genuine desire to reconnect with him. Michael was scolded for his behavior before a heavy atmosphere of regret filled the room. With a lowered head, he took full responsibility for everything that had gone wrong. While a simple apology felt insufficient, he chose to accept the gesture with a quiet word of thanks. Surprise colored the air as they realized he was willing to look past their previous actions. The manager expressed a sincere hope that they could rebuild their relationship and move forward together. He noted with a sigh that they were far too kind-hearted for their own good. He realized that if his parents were going to be this soft-hearted and trusting, he would have to change. He vowed to be the one to stay sharp and vigilant, warning that there wouldn't be another chance for mistakes. The group was called to action, noting that everyone was eagerly awaiting the arrival of the family. "Say!" A loud, enthusiastic shout rang out for Songguk. The boy was beckoned over with wide, welcoming arms. They marveled at the uncharacteristically warm welcome from the usually stoic and cold child. Touched by the display of affection, the coach shared a sudden realization about his purpose. He declared with dramatic passion that he was born for the hustle and would dedicate his entire existence to his career. Exhausted by the trials of parenting, he begged to return to work just as Songguk made a sudden move. Greetings were exchanged with the mother, checking in on how she had been faring lately. Mingguk's presence was noted with a mixture of exhaustion and affection. They were amazed at how much cuter the toddler had become in just a few short months. The little one wailed, demanding to be with his older brother immediately. The sudden outburst was puzzling, especially given how clingy the younger boy always was. Desperate for a distraction, the coach pleaded to start filming to escape the chaos of the brothers' reunion. The manager noted that several minor shifts had occurred during their 2-month hiatus. With the full cast assembled, the director urged everyone to move quickly to stay on schedule. The countdown to the finale began, with the last episode projected to air in 6 months. Plans for the brand new season were already being put into motion. The new chapter was set to begin with a picturesque picnic under the cherry blossoms. Everyone marveled at the young star as he took his place. He looked like a mystical spring fairy, perfectly capturing the essence of the season. The styling team's hard work was evident, and they looked for a reaction to all the glowing praise. The call for the cast to gather signaled that the cameras were finally ready to roll. He gently guided the young boy toward the set to begin the shoot. There was a playful competition over who would get the honor of carrying the child. Reporting back to headquarters, they confirmed they had reached the destination as planned. The vice president was addressed with formal respect. He questioned the necessity of his personal visit, though he couldn't hide his lingering interest. The formal business report was concluded with a satisfied nod. The vice president inquired about a specific pending matter, prompting a request for clarification. The discussion turned to the exclusive contract for the child, confirming that their intent to sign had been delivered. Despite the parents' hesitation over the scale of the deal, he decided to give them space rather than pressuring them. The secretary admitted that the contract seemed far too extravagant for a child with so little experience. He wondered if the boy was truly worth the investment, feeling an unexplainable pull toward him. He described the connection as something as deep as a blood bond, surprising the executive. The secretary was ordered to stay behind while he went on alone. He felt a personal need to verify something for himself. Murmurs broke out as people noticed a prominent figure in the distance. They realized with a shock that the vice president of Samjin himself had appeared on set. Ah! The word for father escaped his lips almost involuntarily. He reflected on the man who had been his father in his previous life, wondering what kind of person he truly was. Raised as the successor to a massive empire, the man had been groomed for power since birth. His leadership style was a sharp departure from the foundational methods of the grandfather. Where the grandfather was a conqueror, this man was a ruler who cared only for the end results. That obsession with outcomes was the defining trait of his past life father. He was a man who lived and breathed for the bottom line, ignoring everything else. Neither his wife nor his massive corporation could distract him from his singular focus. Even his own children were secondary to his cold pursuit of success. His other siblings had withered under his crushing expectations, trapped by their own perceived failures. In contrast, he had been a genius who defied expectations by soaring even higher than anyone imagined. Their relationship had never been simple, marked by complexity and distance. He offered a polite greeting, masking the whirlwind of memories inside. Man. He internally grumbled that even across lifetimes, the man remained an arrogant jerk. He accidentally let the word for father slip out again, causing immediate regret. Dad? Panic flared as he realized his mistake, fearing he had exposed his true identity. The man greeted him warmly, acting as if they were already familiar. He tried to feign ignorance about their previous encounter at a commercial shoot, desperately denying any connection. He scrambled to cover his tracks, insisting he never called the man father and begging the universe to let the moment pass. The man remained unconvinced, certain of what he had just heard. He cursed the man's notorious persistence, realizing he wouldn't let the slip-up go easily. The staff finally recognized the high-ranking executive, their voices trembling with shock. They were baffled by his presence, but he claimed he only wanted to see the boy before leaving. He apologized for the interruption, claiming he hadn't intended to disrupt the filming process. He admitted he had a personal curiosity and simply wanted to see the child with his own eyes. Looking into the boy's eyes, he saw a reflection of his own youthful spirit. Seeing the child in person only solidified his resolve regarding the deal. He checked on the status of the contract, offering to finalize the exclusive deal whenever they were ready. He went further, inviting them to add any conditions they desired to make the deal happen. The child suddenly played the part of a greedy toddler, loudly demanding money from the wealthy man. His laughter filled the air as he leaned into the ridiculous, childlike demand. The man agreed to the terms with a smile, promising to have the funds ready. He suggested they meet again once the family had time to finalize their decision. They agreed, still reeling from the overwhelming offer. With the business concluded for the moment, he prepared to take his leave. He marveled at the strange twist of fate that brought a poor child and a wealthy tycoon back together. But memories of his father's past praise surfaced, recalling a time when his intelligence was trusted. The man had always demanded greatness, and this life seemed no different. The director called for focus, signaling the restart of the production. He shook off the past, realizing his current life was the only thing that mattered now. He resolved to give his full attention to the work at hand and the shoot ahead. The production moved through the seasons, from the spring specials into the warmer months. Summer Vacation Special. Piercing screams of fans echoed as the group's popularity reached a fever pitch. The fans chanted for their favorite young idols, declaring them invincible stars. The crew struggled to maintain order, baffled by how the fans always managed to track their location. Dealing with obsessive fans had made the filming process increasingly difficult and exhausting. As a national sensation, they were warned to stay vigilant against intruders on the set. The cameras captured every moment of the group's meteoric rise and daily lives. Their popularity soared as they dominated the charts, becoming the undisputed leaders of the idol world. He became the face of the advertising world, landing every top-tier commercial available. High-end luxury brands were now clamoring to have the young star represent them. The success was so massive that even the production directors were receiving huge bonuses. Despite the glittering success, the show that started it all was finally drawing to a close. With only a couple of shoots left, a sense of finality began to settle over the cast. The realization that the journey was ending brought a wave of bittersweet emotions. Seongkuk, a quiet request for a favor, was whispered in his direction. Songa KH. Can you do me a favor? He was taken aback by the sudden and serious request. What the? You startled me. Hisker bad. They were urged to stay quiet to avoid the notice of the lingering fans outside. He got straight to the point, asking exactly what kind of help they needed. They were questioned about why they were lingering outside instead of heading to the set. They revealed they wanted the young boys' help in selecting the lead single for their new album. They handed him a microphone, treating the toddler's opinion as if it were law. He turned to Taeyong, asking for the full story behind the dilemma. With a new album on the horizon, the pressure was on to make the right choice. Although the songs were ready, the members were deadlocked over which one should be the main track. They decided to leave the fate of their comeback in the hands of the brilliant 3-year-old. Despite his age, the boy listened with a level of seriousness that surpassed most adults. They admitted their initial hesitation but realized how much the boy had influenced their journey. They reflected on how raising him had taught them more about life than they ever expected. The challenges of the past year had turned their initial recklessness into wisdom. They wanted the boy's influence to be a permanent part of their musical legacy. With the show ending, they saw this as a final way to honor their bond. Songguk, what do you think? He internally smirked, knowing that his future knowledge made him the perfect person for the job. Without hesitation, he pointed directly to the song that would change everything. His choice was met with immediate praise for his impeccable taste. They explained that the selected track was one that the members themselves had helped produce. While most people saw it as a simple B-side, the boy saw the hidden potential in its unique style. His decision confirmed what a few of them had secretly hoped for all along. In his past life, that specific song had dominated the charts for months, even as a secondary track. He hummed the familiar melody, shocking the others with how quickly he had picked up the lyrics. Some members tried to push for a safer, more traditional song, but he wouldn't budge. This one, he stood his ground, insisting that this specific track was the only way to go. Trusting his intuition, the group decided to commit fully to his choice. They vowed to work their hardest to ensure the song he picked became a massive success. Fans flooded the message boards with support, deeply moved by the group's bond with the child. As he headed inside, he couldn't shake a strange feeling that something big was about to happen. He suspected the group was planning one last surprise before the show's final curtain call. He decided to lean into his role as a child and enjoy whatever they had planned. A chorus of voices erupted, wishing him a happy birthday as he walked through the door. "Happy birthday to you." The room was filled with song and celebration, dedicated entirely to the young star. They explained that the party was a combined celebration for his birthday and the end of the show. "How do you feel?" He beamed, expressing his genuine love for the surprise and the people around him. Even with his adult mind, being the center of such warmth felt truly special. The station presented a lavish feast of high-quality beef as a reward for their hard work. They were encouraged to eat their fill as a thank you for making the show a hit. One of the members was moved to tears by the kindness, even as they stuffed their face. "All right then." A final toast was made to the successful completion of the project. "This is so touching." An unfamiliar person approached Soyoung, interrupting the celebration. They delivered a congratulatory gift from the vice-chairman to mark the end of the show. The gift of expensive ginseng left everyone stunned by the executive's generosity. Along with the gift came a polite reminder to review the pending contract. She promised to follow up as soon as possible, feeling the weight of the man's interest. Despite the long day, she asked if he needed rest, but he was determined to keep moving. He insisted he was fine, knowing he needed to stay sharp for the upcoming meeting. He was wary of his past life father, sensing there was more to the deal than met the eye. He resolved to uncover the man's true motives as quickly as possible. They were welcomed with high honors at the corporate headquarters. The magnitude of the building was impressive, signaling the power of the man waiting inside. The vice-chairman acknowledged their arrival with his usual cool composure. He greeted the boy, noting the time that had passed since their last meeting. They were offered refreshments as they settled into the formal environment. He was delighted to see his favorite treats from his past life laid out before him. He expressed his gratitude for the hospitality, enjoying the familiar sense of the office. The man wasted no time, pivoting immediately to the details of the contract. They admitted the offer seemed almost too generous to be true for a child his age. They confirmed the staggering amount of the signing bonus, making sure they hadn't misheard. The man confirmed the figure without a hint of hesitation. He realized the terms were truly insane, typical of his father's grand way of doing things. Such treatment was usually reserved for the biggest stars in the country. They asked for an honest explanation as to why he was offering so much money. He described it simply as an investment in future potential, much to the boy's suspicion. Documentation was provided regarding the company's long-standing scholarship programs. They explained their commitment to nurturing exceptional talent from a young age. The vice president declared that the boy was a rare genius who deserved full corporate backing. While they knew he was smart, the parents were stunned by the high praise. He looked the boy in the eye, noting his unusual courage and intelligence. He predicted the boy would become an extraordinary man with the right resources behind him. The father's words struck a chord, promising a future of unlimited possibilities. Songguk. He recognized his father's old habits, seeing the same obsession with talent he had in their past life. He internally agreed, knowing that the man's eye for potential was as sharp as ever. He vowed to exceed every expectation and become the most capable individual in the man's circle. The parents were shocked by the child's sudden burst of confidence and ambition. The man was impressed, noting that the boy had more fire than his own biological children. The display of spirit only made the executive more eager to secure the deal. He provided the draft once more, encouraging them to take their time with the decision. He assured them that the partnership would ultimately serve the boy's best interests. Back at home, it was time for the nightly routine of getting the children to sleep. After the chaos of the day, the parents finally found a quiet moment to talk. They discussed their honest thoughts on the life-changing offer they had received. The sheer scale of the money involved was unlike anything they had ever imagined. The mother confessed that the opportunity felt almost frightening in its magnitude. She was intimidated by the fact that such a powerful man was focused on their small family. Fear of the unknown made her hesitate, worrying there might be a hidden catch to the deal. Of course, for a family that had struggled for every penny, 100 million won was a terrifying concept. He reflected on how poverty could limit a person's vision, keeping them trapped in a small world. Growing up without means had made them wary of the very opportunities that could save them. He realized that the cruelest part of being poor was the way it killed one's ability to dream big. He decided he would have to be the one to push them toward a better future. The question of whether to accept the contract hung heavy in the air. She urged him to consider the different life their son could have if they took the chance. This was the key to moving beyond survival and toward a proper education and a real career. She imagined him rising to the same heights as the powerful men they had met. They realized the money could buy them a new home and a fresh start for the entire family. She decided to bet on that hope, wanting to grab the future with both hands. They returned to the office, ready to finalize the details of their new life. The staff expressed their gratitude for the quick response to the offer. They noted that the vice chairman was pleased they hadn't spent too long debating the terms. The contract had been adjusted to 2 years with a smaller, but still massive, bonus. A new clause ensured that the boy wouldn't be overworked, addressing the parents' biggest concern. They prepared to sign, but the parents had a few more requests of their own. They surprised the staff by asking to modify some of the terms from their side. Is that all right? They sought permission to adjust the contract to better suit their family's long-term goals. The staff was curious about what specific changes a family like theirs would want to make. He stepped forward to lay out his 2 primary conditions for the deal. Song-Ji-UK. This is. He snatched up documents regarding stocks and real estate, much to his parents' confusion. The executive secretary was visibly flustered by the child's interest in complex investments. The discussion shifted toward the long-term value of company shares and property. He played the curious child, asking innocent questions about the complicated papers. He found it amusing to watch the secretary squirm under the gaze of a toddler. While acting like a child was embarrassing, he knew it was the best way to uncover any hidden schemes. He demanded answers with a playful persistence that was hard to ignore. Shock ripples through the room as they realized the 3-year-old was actually reading the documents. They were speechless, wondering how a child his age could have mastered such a skill. He claimed he learned from the television and newspapers, leaving the adults in complete awe. The secretary realized the vice chairman's assessment of the boy's genius was entirely correct. They confirmed that the parents had voluntarily lowered the initial cash bonus. In return for their modesty, the company offered a massive amount of corporate stock. They also promised a premium apartment in a prestigious area once the contract was completed. The parents were overwhelmed by the addition of a house and stocks to the deal. He recognized the catch immediately. A mandatory service clause designed to keep him tied to the company. He saw right through his father's old tactics of using rewards to ensure absolute loyalty. It was a classic move of dangling a carrot to keep a person subservient for years to come. He smiled, knowing exactly how to play his father's game to his own advantage. He enthusiastically accepted the terms, eager to claim everything for his future. His parents tried to slow him down, but he insisted on signing the contract right away. He knew the stock would skyrocket and the property value would explode in the coming years. Song-Ji UK, Soyoung Dadaho. They were encouraged to sign, as it was a golden opportunity for the entire family's future. They thanked the secretary for the generous terms before making their final move. They announced their plan to form a professional company to handle the boy's career as a business. A management company dedicated solely to Song-Ji UK. Their vision was to create a dedicated agency focused solely on their son's success. The idea was praised as a smart way to manage the many contracts that would surely follow. He felt a surge of pride, knowing this would be the first company to truly belong to him. He credited the idea to the manager, though he had been the one subtly pushing for it. His true ambition was much larger. He planned to turn this small agency into a global powerhouse. The company offered to support the establishment of the new agency as well. They shook hands, looking forward to a long and prosperous partnership. He was overjoyed, knowing that he had secured his own path to power. So, they reflected on the whirlwind of events that had led to the final signature. Between the new wealth and their son's genius, the day had been nothing short of miraculous. Beyond the money, the father was moved to tears by the discovery of his son's brilliance. He hugged the boy tight, bursting with pride, while the child tried to maintain his dignity. They decided to celebrate the momentous occasion with a special family dinner. The table was filled with luxury foods they could rarely afford in the past. Using a small portion of the deposit, she wanted the family to finally enjoy a bit of luxury. Even the baby's meal was upgraded with meat for the first time in his life. The joy of the simple meal was palpable as they ate together as a family. They agreed that their health and happiness were worth more than any savings account. This kid, the father shared news about a conversation he had with his own employer. He had expressed his desire to start something of his own, and the boss had been supportive. He was encouraged to begin preparing for his own professional independence. With the new capital from the contract, he planned to open his own shop in 2 years. His boss had even offered to mentor him in the secrets of running a successful restaurant. The family rallied around him, offering their full support for his new dream. He thanked his son, realizing that the boy's success had given him the courage to chase his own goals. He internally vowed to earn enough to buy multiple buildings by the time the contract ended. "Oh, come on, what does it matter, Secretary Yang? I was the one who recommended that kid to the vice chairman." A third party expressed curiosity about the boy's progress, seeking insider information. They learned that the exclusive deal with Samjin had been finalized. The news of the independent agency spread quickly through the industry circles. They thanked their source for the update, planning their next move carefully. That's what they said. The rival CEO fumed as he heard about the boys' massive new deal and independent agency. He lashed out in anger, cursing the family for their success. He felt insulted that they would flaunt their new partnership after leaving his company. He vowed to get revenge for the perceived slight. He was warned that attacking the boy now would be a dangerous mistake. It was pointed out that the boy was no longer an easy target without protection. Touching the boy now meant crossing the powerful vice chairman of Samjin. Ruining the executive's newest investment would bring down a wrath he couldn't survive. He was asked to consider if he was truly prepared to face the consequences of such an action. In a fit of rage, he ordered everyone out, refusing to listen to reason. He demanded the renewal documents for his other talent, trying to regain control. The expiration of another major contract loomed, signaling more trouble for the CEO. The actress realized she was no longer the same person she was 7 years ago. She playfully approached the boy, suggesting they do a skincare routine together. They enjoyed a relaxing moment, relishing the simple comfort of the face masks. Since the big signing, many things in their lives had begun to change for the better. Their manager was swamped with offers, carefully filtering through the flood of requests. Plans for the family's future restaurant were becoming more solid with each passing day. Secret bosom kimchi making. The mother stayed busy with the younger child, keeping the household running smoothly. She even found time to focus on her own self-care during the busy transition. He compared the simple cucumber slices to the expensive treatments of his past life. He realized that the care provided by his mother felt better than any high-end professional service. She praised her son for being such an easy and supportive child to raise. She left him to watch over his brother for a moment, enjoying a brief flash of peace. The television announced the start of the weekly music charts. The countdown of the nation's top songs began with a high-energy intro. The group's song took the top spot once again, much to his satisfaction. They had maintained their #1 position for 10 consecutive weeks. He watched his protégés thrive, hoping they would remember who helped them get there. But that guy, a representative from the corporation, arrived at the house, seeking entry. Who? KYA. They gushed over how cute he looked with his face mask on, noting how much he'd grown. The mother was startled by the sudden presence of a stranger with her son. She apologized for the intrusion, claiming she was just excited to see the boy again. "Have you been well?" She was shocked to realize that the visitor was actually the famous actress, MC and Me. She quickly welcomed the star into their home, despite the surprise. "Thank you." The reason for the visit was finally revealed as the actress took a seat. She immediately offered a sincere apology for everything that had happened previously. She expressed deep regret for the hardships the family had endured because of her. She admitted that her recommendation had unintentionally led them into a difficult situation. She had only wanted to help the boy's career and hadn't expected the CEO to be so malicious. She looked the boy in the eye, asking for his personal forgiveness. He recalled her from his past life as a woman who focused strictly on business. While she could be calculating, he knew she wasn't a person who went out of her way to hurt others. She preferred building alliances rather than making enemies, a trait he respected. It's fine. The mother was moved by the apology and expressed her gratitude for the actress's concern. She assured her that they held no grudges and were thankful for her kindness toward their son. The actress suggested they act like family, but the boy stayed focused on the business at hand. He questioned her connection to the recent corporate documents she mentioned. She was impressed by his advanced speech and quick wit. She revealed she had personally brought the latest contract documents from the secretary. "Oh, if you give it to me, before I give this to you." She admitted she had heard the news about their independent agency. To everyone's shock, she expressed a desire to join their new company herself. What? She repeated her intent to become a part of the boys' fledgling agency. They were baffled as to why a top star would want to join such a small operation. She admitted she had used her corporate connections to find out about their plans. She revealed that her current contract had ended and she had no desire to stay with her old boss. "I was very disappointed in CEO Shinseong, and there's no reason for me to stay with Shinseong Entertainment anymore." She wanted to work in an environment that felt more like a family than a cold business. She pointed out that her fame and income would be a massive boost to their new company. She promised to bring everything she had to help make the agency a success. She believed her presence would give them more leverage in the industry. She was ready to sign immediately, but the boy had other ideas. Absolutely. He gave a flat, uncompromising rejection to her proposal. No way? His parents were horrified by his rudeness toward the famous actress. He didn't offer a detailed explanation, simply standing firm on his no. The mother tried to smooth things over, suggesting they talk more later. He resorted to a dramatic toddler tantrum to make sure his rejection was final. "No Songgukd." Oh my. They were shocked by his behavior, as he had never acted out like this before. The younger brother woke up, confused by the sudden noise and chaos. "Ah!" The mother hurried to tend to the baby, apologizing to their guest for the disruption. The actress wondered why the boy had taken such a sudden dislike to her. "I'm curious why." He internally noted that her hidden motives were far too obvious to ignore. He knew she was only looking for a safe investment to benefit herself in the long run. He wasn't interested in someone who only wanted to join because they saw a guaranteed win. He intended to build his company with people who were truly loyal, not those looking for a quick gain. He especially didn't want someone who would act as a spy for his father. He repeated his rejection, making it clear she wasn't welcome in their inner circle. She realized she wouldn't get a yes today and prepared to depart. Actor. She decided to leave for the moment, seeing that the situation was too tense. She admitted she was even more intrigued now and vowed to show more sincerity in the future. "Try all you want." She left the corporate documents behind as a gesture of goodwill. She promised to see them again soon before making a graceful exit. After the storm passed, he reflected on the value she could bring but stayed firm on his principles. He needed partners who were fully committed to the vision, not just passing through. He was scolded by his mother for his behavior, though he didn't regret it. She was embarrassed by how quickly the actress had been chased away. He tried to act like a typical child to deflect her anger. He quickly pivoted her attention to the important corporate documents she had left behind. Isn't finished talking yet?" The documents revealed a beautiful location near the city for their next project. "There are places like this near Seoul." They were greeted by the director upon arriving at the new set. "Director." It was clear that the corporation sponsorship was already opening massive doors for them. They noted how much the children had grown and improved since their last meeting. They were presented with sponsored clothing that made them look like high-end models. He was amused by the brand name, though his parents were impressed by the quality. He made a playful joke about the name, lightening the mood for everyone. They arrived at their destination, ready for the next big step. It's been a while. The man looked at the boy, recognizing him as the target of his investment. Yes, that's right. He stood before the man who had been his father, ready to face the future. He gently guided his father, urging him to take his time stepping down. The older man snapped back, refusing to be coddled like a helpless senior. He scoffed that a brief display of weakness for the press shouldn't define him, though his son quickly denied any disrespect. The chairman brought up the proposal, questioning the decision to center a loud commercial around a mere child actor. He demanded to know the logic behind abandoning their dignified tradition, but his son insisted the shift was necessary. The younger man argued that the company desperately needed to shed its rigid, antiquated image. The father took offense at the implication that his methods were obsolete, forcing the son to clarify his intent. Recognizing the confidence in his son's voice, the old man allowed him to proceed, though the son privately noted his father's sharp instincts. He questioned the excessive focus on the boy, asking if it was for show, but was told it was a calculated investment for the future. The word investment lingered in the air, met with skepticism. He couldn't fathom what a small child could possibly offer to a major corporation. The conversation shifted to the decision to join a small, one-man agency. Despite having options with famous agencies, the choice was defended as a strategic move. He explained that the industry had changed, shifting value toward relatability and public friendliness. The goal was to position him as the year's most popular child actor. Songguk was actively tailoring the image to fit the market, a perfect opportunity for future growth. Everyone was convinced the boy was destined for massive stardom. The chairman finally turned his attention to the child in question. He was immediately struck by the fact that the toddler was already reading. He marveled that a 3-year-old could read, pointing out that his own son hadn't managed that until age 5. He openly wished that such a prodigy belonged to their own bloodline. He lamented that his actual grandchildren fell short of his high standards, a point his son couldn't argue. Elsewhere, the boy rubbed his ear, sensing that someone was gossiping about him. He reviewed the storyboard, realizing the shoot was for the company's new vacuum cleaner. He understood that this commercial was pivotal for determining the corporation's future direction. Determined to succeed, he vowed to dominate the shoot and increase his own market value. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out to him. Old acquaintances arrived, happy to see both him and Songguk after so long. Greetings were exchanged with playful flattery, though the exaggerated compliments were brushed aside. They enthusiastically asked how Songguk had been holding up. He confirmed he was fine and noted that the group seemed to be thriving as well. He commented on how healthy and vibrant they all looked. They credited their recent success entirely to him, calling him their savior. Their song had broken records, holding the #1 spot for 30 consecutive weeks. That achievement had catapulted them into fame, a fact Songguk acknowledged with a smirk. He reminded them that following his advice was the key, jokingly demanding repayment. They agreed immediately, shouting their willingness to pay him back. They offered to do anything he asked, their intensity catching him off guard. He mulled over the word anything before accepting their enthusiasm. With the cast assembled, the director called for filming to begin. The group responded in unison, ready to start. Looking around, they were impressed by the scale of the filming location. Staff members directed the actors to their positions. They complied, though one member was stunned by the sheer number of cameras aimed at them. Songguk called out to Taeyong, who turned to address him. He noticed a member was missing and asked where Michael was. Realizing Michael was absent, the group suddenly grew hesitant and awkward. They struggled to find the words to explain Michael's situation. Finally, they admitted that Michael had essentially left the group. Songguk was shocked by the news, but they could only explain that he had simply wanted to leave. He recalled how the man had turned sulky after a scolding and abruptly quit citing homesickness. They realized they had missed the chance to intervene before the sudden departure. It dawned on him that the future had fundamentally shifted. In the past timeline, Michael caused scandals but stayed loyal until retirement, unlike this sudden exit. Aside from that one deviation, everything else had been proceeding exactly as he remembered. He noted that rising to fame through a parenting show was a fabrication. He wondered if he actually held the power to alter the course of destiny. He questioned the stability of the future he thought he knew. The sudden commotion interrupted his thoughts as he demanded to know what the pair was doing. He shouted for them to cease their quarreling immediately. He stepped in to mediate, asking frantically what had caused the sudden outbreak of hostilities. One of them pointed an accusatory finger at the other. He explained that the anger stemmed from feeling patronized, though the other insisted it was just disappointment. He challenged Jae-hyung to demonstrate his own acting skills if he thought it was so easy. He declared that he was going to approach the scene with total seriousness. He began acting out a scene about living in a filthy environment. He tried to promote a vacuum cleaner while boasting about his own beauty. The director interrupted, suggesting he needed to look rougher rather than maintaining his idol image. He realized Jae-hyung's lovable, soft idol persona was actually a hindrance to making his acting look realistic. He noted that Byeomseon was the complete opposite in terms of personality. He wondered if the blunt member would fare better as an actor than an idol. He called out Byeomseon's name to get his attention. He instructed Byeomseon to attempt the scene instead. The others agreed, encouraging the quiet member to give it a shot. Byeomseon snapped back that he was already being serious, annoyed at the accusation. Reluctantly, he agreed to give the performance a try. The group urged him to display his hidden potential. He instantly slipped into character, shouting angrily about the filthy living conditions. He questioned the vacuum cleaner with a natural, rough tone that fit the scene perfectly. Everyone watched in shock, confirming that the outburst was actually just acting. He realized that the reserved member had a hidden talent for dramatic performance. He proposed that Byeomseon should take the role instead of Jae-hyung. He worried about Jae-hyung's feelings but remembered the idol was quick to accept reality. He praised Byeomseon enthusiastically, noting that Jae-hyung didn't cling to useless pride. Jae-hyung admitted the other was better and graciously ceded the role. He felt relieved that the group dynamic was healthy and things were moving forward correctly. He remembered that in his past life, the group had split up and remained awkward until retirement. He asked if the other was interested in acting, receiving a positive response. He resolved to help them surpass the tragic fate of their previous lives. He felt that while the flow of time felt familiar, the outcomes could be reshaped. The member shouted enthusiastically that he could do anything. The crew thanked everyone for their hard work as the shoot concluded. He let out a deep sigh of exhaustion. He complained about the difficulty of the commercial shoot and the excessive number of lines. A voice called out, asking if they had just finished. The actress Lim Sunmi greeted them cheerfully. He realized she had come to help immediately after her own shoot, sensing her cunning strategy. He decided to feign ignorance of her motives and accept the ride due to his fatigue. She announced that she had already reserved a great place for them. They arrived at the venue and were welcomed in. She ushered them into a private room she had booked. He recognized the restaurant as his favorite spot for black bean noodles from his past life. He was overwhelmed with emotion at seeing the luxurious dish again. He recalled how he used to sneak out to eat here alone during his wealthy past life. He lamented that in his current poverty, he hadn't expected to see such food for a decade. He thanked the actress profusely while eyeing the expensive dishes. She reminded him that she had promised to show her sincerity to join the agency. She revealed that she had also taken care of the troublesome President Shin. She explained they had taught a lesson to the man who spread malicious rumors. He realized she had handled his enemy while he was busy eating. He acknowledged that her show of sincerity was impressive. He invited Sunmi to officially join their table. She happily accepted the invitation. They bantered about whether his acceptance was solely due to the delicious food. He confirmed internally that the future was indeed changeable. He hoped that Sunmi could become a better person than the version he knew before. He announced to his mother that he had agreed to accept her as an ally. Sunmi pleaded with the parents to accept her into the agency. The mother hesitated, acknowledging the offer but feeling uncertain. She stated that she was still against the idea. Sunmi was shocked that they would refuse a top actress. The mother argued that they lacked an office and employees to support her properly. She felt they would fail if they tried to manage a star with zero resources. He admitted internally that his mother made a valid point. He acknowledged that their current operation was just a one-man show. He voiced his support for bringing Sunmi in despite the logistical hurdles. The mother insisted they needed someone to manage finances before expanding. A brilliant idea suddenly struck him. He agreed that hiring staff was the first priority. He suggested they needed an accountant immediately. He pointed excitedly at his mother. He referenced a textbook titled Basic Accounting Principles, with her name on it. He revealed the book belonged to her. He announced that his mother had studied accounting. She confirmed her background. Noting she had graduated from commercial high school, she hesitated, citing her lack of recent experience. He encouraged her, insisting that experience didn't matter. He reminded her it was just a small startup. He argued that trust was more valuable than experience, making her perfect for the role. The father chimed in, encouraging her to pursue the work she wanted. She vowed to do her best, accepting the responsibility. He expressed his full support for her passion and talent. He felt relieved that his money would now be managed safely. They decided to set up the office in the vacant unit upstairs, which she owned. She agreed enthusiastically, displaying a strong sense of ownership. They cheered, resolving to grow the agency into something huge. A voice called out from the entrance. The visitor brought watermelon for everyone to enjoy. The manager explained he had dropped by to see the new office setup. He complimented the professional look, though it was just 2 desks in a studio. The mother felt embarrassed by the humble appearance, but he reassured her. He stated he preferred efficiency over flashy, large offices. He shifted the conversation to a new topic. He showed them a news report about Lim Sunmi joining their agency. Sunmi confirmed she had leaked the article, so there was no backing out. She smiled, pleased with her maneuver to seal the deal. She asked where Songguk was, and was told to enter the room. They explained he was busy taking care of his baby brother. She reacted with delight at the scene inside. She cooed at the sight of him reading a fairy tale to the infant. He explained that the baby was crawling everywhere and clinging to him. The adults praised him for being such a dutiful son. He suggested that since the baby was mobile, he could tag along to an upcoming event. He mentioned the upcoming 10th birthday party for the vice chairman's son. He revealed the party would be held at the Samjin Hotel on July 8th. He mused on the name of the birthday boy, John Taeguk. He recalled that in his past life, his brother had been reckless and unhelpful. He wondered what it would be like to see him again. He snapped back to reality as the baby grabbed him. He reassured the infant that he wasn't like his past life counterpart. He noted that the baby followed him a little too well. The date July 8th suddenly triggered a sense of unease. He struggled to recall why that specific date felt so significant. A phone call interrupted the early morning silence. He answered the phone hesitantly. He recognized the secretary's voice and asked what was wrong. He learned that the party preparations had been halted. He was shocked to hear the event was postponed indefinitely. He turned to the TV, suspecting breaking news. The news anchor announced a government emergency meeting. He finally realized why the date had been bothering him. The news confirmed the death of North Korean leader Kim Il-sung. He watched as the geopolitical situation was thrown into chaos. He confirmed the date matched the historical event perfectly, July 8, 1994. He recalled how the sudden death had caused massive panic about a potential war. He knew the internal conflict in the north would lead to instability. He foresaw the difficult period known as the Arduous March. He understood that instability would rock the nation for a while. He realized the postponement of the party was a natural consequence of the chaos. He noted the stock market was plummeting and asked if his father knew how to trade. He mentioned he had studied stocks after receiving shares previously. He suddenly shouted that they needed to buy stocks immediately. His father was confused by the sudden urgency. He explained that panic selling due to war fears was crashing the market. He insisted that the crash was the perfect opportunity to buy low. His father was bewildered by his son's aggressive financial advice. He instructed his father to buy defense stocks specifically. He threatened to go on a hunger strike if the stocks weren't purchased. The parents panicked, knowing he was serious about the threat. He advised humoring the child's tantrum by pretending to buy the item to calm the situation. The child retorted angrily, refusing to be patronized or treated like a fool. Impressed by the kid's sharpness, the adult decided to buy a small amount as an early birthday present. He considered testing the waters by purchasing just a single share of stock. The single share skyrocketed in value, convincing them that Song UK had a special gift for investments. He pondered the massive future events approaching, unsure how much he could truly alter history. He vowed with fierce determination to safeguard his current family no matter what. They arrived at the prestigious Samjin Hotel. The staff politely requested their invitation cards at the entrance. A gasp of pure amazement escaped him as he took in the scene. The lavish scale of a mere 10-year-old's party highlighted the stark difference in their social worlds. However, he mentally scoffed, knowing this was actually modest compared to the past. He recalled his own 10th birthday, which had featured champagne fountains and a masterpiece cake. He realized the event was intentionally subdued to avoid political scrutiny following the dictator's death. With a shared nod, they prepared to enter the venue together. Guests whispered anxiously about the political instability and the looming threat of war at the border. Amidst the chaotic rumors, a familiar voice called out to Song Yuk-hae and his mother. They exchanged polite greetings, acknowledging how much time had passed since their last meeting. Secretary Yang greeted them warmly, mentioning he had been anticipating their arrival. The boy was introduced to Yang Cheol-soo, the son his father had spoken about. He recognized Yang Cheol-soo immediately, noting the boy's maturity. He felt a pang of nostalgia, remembering how he used to care for this boy in his previous life. They agreed to get along, establishing a tentative rapport. The host guided them toward their assigned seats within the hall. He appreciated having a protective older figure, recalling the boy's admirable nature from before. Suddenly, a familiar face caught his eye, causing him to freeze. He whispered the name Jong-hee, hardly believing who he was seeing. His companion asked if he knew the daughter of the Suwon steel conglomerate. He feigned vague recognition, though internally, he knew her all too well. It was the woman he had deeply loved but was destined to lose. He recalled how she sacrificed their relationship to save her family's business during the financial crisis. At the time, he had felt bitter, viewing her choice as a betrayal for money. The hatred he once held had faded, replaced by a newfound understanding of her motives. He realized she had simply been desperate to protect her family from ruin. He blamed the economic crisis for their tragedy, until a voice snapped him back to reality. Dismissing the thought, he moved to leave, only to be interrupted. A sudden cry of surprise echoed through the room. Song Yuk-hae stumbled, and his companion gasped in shock. Checking if he was hurt, the older boy realized someone had intentionally tripped him. He glared around, instantly spotting the likely culprit. It was the spoiled child his father favored. The bully sneered, questioning why such an ordinary kid was at his party. Chaos erupted as the boys' names were shouted. One boy defended his retaliation, claiming he was provoked. Taeguk played the victim, offended that anyone would believe the other kid over him. An adult voice barked a warning at Cheol-soo. Cheol-soo insisted that Taeguk had tripped Song Yuk-hae maliciously. While one tried to mediate, the other boy felt the bully got exactly what he deserved. He recognized Taeguk as a classic predator who preyed on the weak. Knowing bullies only respected force, he prepared to fight back. Secretary Yang intervened, warning that further disruption would not be tolerated. He reminded them that the vice president would be displeased by the commotion. The mention of his father struck fear into the boy, proving his cowardice hadn't changed. A gentle voice called Song Yuk-hae away from the conflict. She asked with concern if he was in pain. Noticing a scrape, she suggested getting some medical attention. The birthday boy asked Secretary Yang when his mother would arrive. The secretary delivered the usual excuse about work, a disappointment the boy knew well. The boy realized he was alone on his birthday, abandoned by both parents. Overcome with frustration, he declared he wanted to cancel the celebration. Observing the lonely child, he felt a pang of sympathy despite the boy's earlier behavior. He criticized the cold nature of chaebol families who skipped their own children's milestones. It was a pathetic sight, confirming the stereotypes about the rich elite. He recalled his own parents' absence, preoccupied with politics and indifference. He tried to convince himself that their absence hadn't bothered him back then. He cynically toasted to the memory of his own lonely, glamorous parties. He remembered distracting himself by networking with powerful guests instead of being a child. However, seeing the current birthday boy crying broke his heart. The child's tears were pitiful to witness. The MC announced the official start of Taeguk's celebration. Guests were invited to enjoy the meal and the upcoming entertainment. Someone checked if jjajangmyeon was an acceptable meal choice, surprising the recipient. The boy was thrilled by the simple noodle dish. The announcer built anticipation for the special guest performers. The famous idol group just was introduced to the stage. The crowd gasped in recognition of the popular group. A fan screamed affectionately for one of the members. He noticed Jong Hee's enthusiastic reaction. He noted with amusement that she had a specific type in this timeline. A familiar voice greeted Song Uk warmly. He admired Secretary Yang's ability to diffuse the tension with food and music, yet something still bothered him. His attention drifted back to the lonely boy. Even if the kid was a brat, seeing him cry alone was unbearable. Anger flared at the parents for neglecting their son on such a day. Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. The arrival of the vice president and his wife was announced. The guests applauded as the powerful couple entered the hall. The vice president noted Song Uk's presence, causing the boy to tense up. The woman asked if this was the child her husband had mentioned often. Song Uk recognized the woman instantly. She called him cute, though internally he disagreed with her assessment. She appeared just as he remembered. Cold, sharp, and intimidating. It was the Iron Lady, a woman defined solely by her career. Taeguk nervously greeted his mother, trying to avoid any trouble. The scene mimicked a happy family reunion, but he knew the dark reality beneath the surface. It was a family void of love, bound only by money and status, his past life's nightmare. But reflecting on his new family, he felt limitless and truly supported. He vowed to ascend even higher, determined to leverage the family's influence for his own rise. It was the summer of 1995, and John Songguk was merely 5 years old. A voice echoed from the past, calling him a star and promising to wait for his return. A gentle plea urged him to wake from his slumber. Back in the summer of 1995, movers busily directed boxes to their designated spots within the new house. The moving process was finally completed. The workers confirmed that all furniture had been arranged precisely according to the family's request. His mother thanked them for the smooth process, noting the premium service was well worth the cost. The crew prepared to take their leave. However, they paused before exiting, seemingly recalling something important. His mother nudged him, suggesting he thank the movers before they departed. He stepped into the hallway, asking if he had been summoned. There stood John Songguk, a 5-year-old child. The movers bashfully admitted they had been fans of the family ever since his early modeling days. One worker offered a handmade gift his wife had crafted specifically for the young star. He accepted the gesture with a polite and cheerful expression of gratitude. The workers melted at his cuteness, feeling their boss's dream had been realized. His mother checked if everything was settled, noting his younger brother was asleep as she called for her husband. She announced that their new life in this home officially began that very day. A collective gasp of awe filled the room as they took in the view. She marveled at their new residence, praising the generous heart of the Samjin vice president. While she admired the gift, he knew the house was actually a reward for the results he had delivered. The contract for his exclusive modeling included Samjin stock and a brand new Jamsil apartment 2 years later. His grandfather had personally sent over the keys to the Jamsil residence. Officially due to early construction, the move was actually a covert reward for his major contributions. He had been integral to the vice president's flagship projects, including the next-gen image and semiconductor tech. Samjin Electronics had risen to the top spot, surpassing competitors thanks to superior product rollouts. Yet, he couldn't deny that his own tireless efforts had played a significant role in that success. Rumors suggested his grandfather had received immense praise for the company's performance. He mused that he deserved more perks, perhaps a bonus or extra incentive. His father interrupted his thoughts, asking what the plan was for the day. Noticing the market trends, he realized his father was referring to stock investments. He advised his father to purchase more Samjin Electronics stock, which surprised the older man. His father worried about the recent drop, unaware it was merely due to a global economic chill. He knew the company would skyrocket soon, marking the beginning of the semiconductor legend with secured tech. He insisted that buying Samjin Electronics now was the right move, leaving his father in thought. When asked if it was just a gut feeling, he confirmed it with a childish nod. His father immediately agreed, having effectively become his son's personal stock manager. A previous recommendation had soared tenfold, solidifying his father's trust in his instincts. Despite occasional skepticism, his father now always consulted him on which stocks looked promising. By now, His father fully believed in his son's supernatural investment instincts. While the simplicity was convenient, he asked why his father was so obsessed with stocks. He shot a suspicious glare, asking if it was purely about chasing money. His father stammered that it was simply exciting to see the predictions come true. Eventually, he admitted he wanted to save up enough to give his wife a proper wedding. He was struck speechless by the sudden revelation. His father begged him to keep both the wedding plans and the stock trading a secret from his mother. Moved by the sentiment, he promised to help with everything, earning tearful praise. A small voice called out for his big brother. 3-year-old John Minguk appeared, demanding a bedtime story. He noted that their mother was swamped in the kitchen, leaving him to handle the toddler. Realizing it couldn't be helped, he beckoned his younger brother over. He curiously checked which book the toddler had selected. He was amused to find the toddler had chosen Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. He began reading, immersing the child in the stifling atmosphere of the narrative. He revealed he had personally taken charge of Minguk's education. He was applying the strict Chaebol-style curriculum he had once received, covering everything from economics to languages. He saw potential in the boy, noting how unlike the incompetent Taeguk he was. He planned to raise Minguk into a competent subordinate for his own future use. Meanwhile, his mother answered a phone call from a friend. She confirmed the move was done and invited manager Kim over. She discussed schedules and noted that the agency was running smoothly. She felt vindicated in her staffing choices before the topic switched to a new job. The manager mentioned a Samjin electronics event taking place at a department store. Hearing the vice president would attend, she sighed about bumping into the old man again. She confirmed her attendance and ended the call. His father asked if there was a Samjin event coming up. The very next day arrived. The manager arrived, surprised to see her already outside. His mother insisted she and Songguk could have handled the trip, knowing the manager was busy. The manager retorted that her primary duty was always managing Songguk. She looked around, wondering where the star of the show was. He announced his presence from nearby. The manager exclaimed over his appearance, praising the styling effort. With everyone ready, they set off for the event hall. In the car, the manager mentioned a recent discussion with Lim Sunmi. They were considering relocating the agency office to Gangnam. His mother worried about the cost, but the manager felt it was manageable. With more exclusive celebrities signed, visibility in the industry was crucial. They recalled Songguk previously supporting the idea, adding weight to the decision. His mother turned to ask him something. She paused, noticing his state. He had fallen asleep, exhausted from babysitting his brother all morning. They laughed about how the brothers were glued together, finding their interactions adorable. The car neared their destination. His mother offered to carry him since he was still asleep. He stirred, wondering why his bed felt so unstable. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. He realized his mother was carrying him just as she noticed he was awake. Confused, he asked if they had already arrived at the event. Blaming his brother for the fatigue, he demanded to be put down. While she welcomed him back to the waking world, she admitted her back was hurting from carrying him. The department store's PR director greeted them warmly. She guided them toward a waiting room prepared for their rest. He asked his mother to confirm the location, which she realized she hadn't fully explained. She clarified they were at a famous large department store and would head to the event area soon. He racked his brain, trying to recall the famous Seoul department stores of that era. Looking around, he felt something was amiss. It seemed far too shabby to be a premier shopping destination. He noticed alarming cracks running along the walls and a distinct sag in the floor. A bad feeling washed over him as the signs pointed to a specific disaster. He frantically asked his mother for the name of the store. A chilling realization struck him as he recognized the location. He recognized the building immediately, realizing with horror that he was standing inside the Unbit department store. The name of the place echoed in his mind, triggering a wave of dread. Terrifying memories surfaced of a tragic summer day when the structure crumbled, resulting in a catastrophic historical disaster. Dread washed over him as he realized the current date coincided exactly with the day the tragedy was destined to occur. Panic set in as he frantically questioned how to handle this impossible situation, doubting if it was truly happening today. He struggled to recall the specific details, his memory of the actual event remaining frighteningly vague. He recalled being abroad on a study trip during the original timeline, only learning about the massive casualty count through news reports later. Desperately searching his memory, he recalled that, between the two structures, Building A had suffered the most catastrophic damage. His internal panic was interrupted when someone asked what was wrong. Noticing his visible distress, his mother looked down at him with concern, asking if he was feeling ill. He steeled his resolve, knowing he couldn't hesitate or his mother would be in danger once again. He urgently grabbed his mother, insisting they needed to leave immediately, which only confused her further. The adults looked on in confusion, wondering what had caused his sudden outburst. Amidst the commotion, someone noted the increasing noise levels as the vice president arrived on the scene. The man greeted them, noting that it had been quite some time since he last saw Songguk. However, the vice president immediately noticed the boy's pale complexion and asked if he was unwell. Desperate to prevent the disaster, he looked at his father and stammered that they had to stop everything immediately. He insisted that the entire event needed to be cancelled right now. He gasped, realizing the futility of his demand. He quickly understood that his father was not the type of man to be swayed by what sounded like a child's irrational tantrum. Knowing the event took months to prepare, he realized he couldn't just demand a cancellation without a valid reason. His mind raced back to the facts, recalling that Building A was the one destined for total destruction. Shifting tactics, he begged the vice president to simply change the location of the event instead of canceling it. He knew he couldn't stop the collapse itself, but he was determined to minimize the human cost. He pleaded desperately with the vice president to listen to his request. He shouted once more for them to change the event's location immediately. The adults were baffled, but he improvised an excuse about the current venue being unsafe and too small. He pointedly declared that they needed to move the gathering to Building B immediately. He relied on the knowledge that Building B had barely collapsed and suffered minimal damage in the original timeline. He realized he had no other option but to trust his fragmented memories to save everyone. He urged everyone to move to Building B as quickly as possible. His erratic behavior caused the adults to question what on earth was going on with him. His mother apologized to the vice president, completely at a loss regarding her son's sudden strange actions. She promised to take him aside and talk some sense into him. He ignored the scolding and called out to the vice president again to get his attention. He pointed out a critical problem with the event hall to validate his warnings. Just then, a scream rang out from the crowd as someone was stepped on in the growing crush. Chaos began to unfold as people shouted for space and urged others to calm down. Security struggled to maintain order so the event could proceed, but the crowd was becoming unmanageable. An employee apologized profusely, admitting the situation had turned into a complete mess. The staff wondered how it escalated, noting it was manageable in the morning but had spiraled out of control by afternoon. The vice president realized the situation report had been delayed, understanding exactly why his staff hid it. He surmised the department head tried to fix the overcrowding before his arrival to avoid being fired for incompetence. It became clear that the presence of Songguk and the Just group had drawn 3 times the expected crowd, creating a crisis. The boy watched in terror, knowing the building's collapse could trigger at any moment. The vice president realized they had to act fast, finally understanding the boy's suggestion. He confirmed that the boy was suggesting a venue change to handle the crowd. Songguk eagerly nodded, confirming that was exactly what they needed to do. He warned that a disaster was imminent if they didn't move to Building B, while staff tried to calm the guests. The vice president immediately turned to Secretary Yang for logistical support. He asked if Building B had a facility large enough to accommodate the massive crowd, recalling a cultural center there. Upon confirmation, he decisively ordered the relocation, despite the staff's hesitation. A staff member tried to argue that the other venue wasn't ready and suggested using staff to force order here instead. The employee insisted it would be better to stick to the original plan despite the danger. Ignoring the dissent, the command was given to move out. Songguk urged them to hurry, his mind focused solely on saving everyone present. His desperate thoughts centered on saving his mother, his father, and the innocent bystanders. The order was officially given to move to Building B's cultural center, and the secretary moved to execute it. As they prepared to move to Building B, a staff member stammered a final objection to the vice president. He warned that the ventilation and air conditioning systems in Building B were currently out of order. The vice president countered that heat and stuffiness were preferable to a fatal stampede, prioritizing life over comfort. He silenced the employee, demanding cooperation to get the crowd moving immediately. Songguk felt a wave of relief, realizing his parents and the others would now be safe from the collapse. However, he realized there was one more thing he needed to ensure the evacuation was fast enough. He decided the fire alarm needed to be triggered to accelerate the crowd's movement. He rushed to the alarm but found it blocked by piles of boxes, noting the fire code violation with frustration. He cursed silently, struggling to reach the lever over the obstacles. He stretched his small body to the limit, praying to reach it just a little more. His mother spotted him climbing dangerously and screamed, asking what he was doing. He mentally apologized, determined to sound the alarm despite the danger to himself. As he focused on the evacuation, his vision blurred, and he felt a sudden wave of dizziness overcome him. His mother screamed his name in panic as he lost his balance. Her voice grew louder, filled with terror as he fell. Bystanders cried out for help, realizing the child had collapsed. Panic erupted as they noted his sudden fall and the intense fever radiating from his body. The vice president picked him up personally, deciding it was faster to carry him to the hospital than wait. He ordered an ambulance but then decided to run, while Songguk's fading consciousness focused on saving them. The boy's last thought before blacking out was a desperate wish to save everyone. The father rushed through the hospital, shouting for the staff to make way for a pediatric emergency. Medical staff reported that while his vitals were stable, he was suffering from a high fever and convulsions. His mother sobbed by his side, blaming herself for not watching him, while others tried to comfort her. The staff recognized the vice president of Samjin and asked for the hospital director. The father demanded immediate contact with the director, urging them to act fast to save his son. Sometime later, he groggily woke up, realizing he was in a hospital room. He softly called out for his mother. Disoriented, he asked what had happened and where they were, groaning in pain. His mother gasped as he woke, while a news report played in the background about a survivor rescue. The news confirmed the collapse of Unbit department store had occurred, causing hundreds of casualties. His mother cried out his name, overwhelmed with relief to see him awake. She tearfully scolded him, asking if he knew how terrified she had been. He looked at her softly, still recovering from his ordeal. He noticed the room was filled with items and asked what they were. She explained it was support sent by his fans who heard he had collapsed and been unconscious. He was shocked to learn he had been asleep for 3 whole days, worrying everyone. A doctor entered, assuring them that the test results were thankfully clear. The doctor explained he was healthy but had suffered exhaustion and fever due to sudden, excessive stress. The physician advised the parents to manage his stress levels in the future, and they thanked him. The adults sighed in relief, grateful that there was no serious underlying condition. His mother held him close, begging him not to collapse again and to stay healthy. He apologized to his parents and Mingguk, deeply regretting the worry he had caused them. He tried to interrupt, addressing his mother with a hesitant stutter. She asked him anxiously to explain exactly what had happened. She pressed him, asking if he had noticed anything unusual or out of the ordinary before the event. He stated simply that an accident had taken place. He clarified that it was a rather significant and catastrophic accident. News reports detailed the department store collapse and raised serious suspicions about the construction company involved. He realized with a heavy heart that the great disaster he feared had finally come to pass. As the casualty count rose over 300, he felt a crushing sense of failure for not changing the outcome. He had been desperate to avoid the tragedy and agonized over whether there was truly no other way to save them. He screamed internally, berating himself and questioning if this was the absolute limit of his abilities. His mother called his name gently, trying to snap him out of his spiraling thoughts. She admitted she didn't fully understand what was going through his mind, but wanted him to listen. She explained that his suggestion to move the event hall had saved many guests and kept the building from collapsing on them. She added that even the vice president had expressed immense gratitude for his foresight. She emphasized that his father, herself, and the others were safe solely thanks to his warning. She beamed with emotion, telling him how incredibly proud she was of him. His father thanked him sincerely, acknowledging the weight of what his son had done. He realized that while he couldn't stop the disaster entirely, he had managed to change the future to some extent. His mother asked gently why tears were streaming down his face. Elsewhere, Manager Kim answered the phone to report the situation. He informed the caller that the boy had woken up and expressed gratitude for the VIP support and covered fees. The manager addressed the vice president respectfully on the other end of the line. He delivered the urgent news that the boy had finally regained consciousness. The vice president inquired about his health, learning that tests showed no physical abnormalities. He ordered immediate press releases stating the company would take full responsibility and lead the recovery efforts. Regarding the boy, he instructed them to send a gift and visit him personally to show care. He demanded immediate updates on any special developments so he could act right away. The vice president murmured the boy's name, lost in deep thought. He mused aloud that the boy was a truly strange child, confusing his listener. He reflected that without the boy's warning, he and the entire executive team would have been at the collapse site. He realized that the company leadership, including himself, would have likely perished. Not only them, but the guests and the boy himself would not have survived the catastrophe. He knew the company would have faced astronomical damages and potential bankruptcy from the fallout. He felt an inexplicable bond with the child, noting an intelligence far beyond his 5 years. The boy's actions defied all logical explanation and left him bewildered. He resolved to investigate further to understand exactly what kind of child he was dealing with. He wondered what destiny lay behind their strange connection. The conversation shifted to a private meeting with a spiritual advisor. The shaman noted that he had secretly hired people to investigate another person's child. The vice president confirmed the accusation without hesitation. She mentioned the boy was a famous TV personality, though she admitted she didn't watch television herself. He asked her to read the compatibility between the boy, himself, and the corporation. He reminded her of her long service to his father, which she acknowledged as a debt she owed. She agreed to perform the reading for the sake of their past connection. She asked if he was truly curious about how his fate was entangled with the boys. She declared that the answer was actually quite simple. She shocked him by predicting that he would eventually be devoured. She warned that the boy was the type to give a little only to take everything away later. She explained that their meeting was destiny, and since they clicked well, it would benefit him initially. She prophesied that when the boy met water, he was fated to sail the seas and rule the world. She reiterated grimly that the boy would eventually strip him of everything he possessed. He would rise to great heights by stepping over the vice president proudly. She then shifted the topic to his own son, Taiga. The vice president asked about his son, but she dismissed the boy as painfully ordinary. She noted that had he been a younger sibling, he would have been overshadowed, but he was lucky to be the firstborn. She predicted a safe but completely uneventful life for his heir. She observed that most people would avoid someone destined to ruin them. She guessed correctly that he had no intention of avoiding the challenge. He admitted he was intrigued to see how the boy would manage to take everything from him. She laughed, noting that his desire to watch it unfold proved he was no ordinary man. She praised his instinct to keep enemies close, calling it the hallmark of a true ruler. She noted that whether he crushed the boy or kept him, the child was already helping him now. He confirmed that the boy had already saved him from the department store collapse. He recalled how the boy had persistently begged to extend the search for survivors in the ruins. He decided to grant the request, seeing it as a way to test if the boy was truly helpful. He paused, considering the implications of the next steps. A subordinate responded promptly to his call. He initiated a discussion regarding the ongoing rescue operations. A news anchor broke in with an urgent bulletin. The report highlighted the group's leadership in the rescue efforts, which had reached day 10. Against all grim expectations that no one else was alive, a miracle occurred. The reporter announced the discovery of a 13th survivor. His father cheered that the government was praising them, proving the boy's insistence was right. The boy felt a wave of immense relief wash over him at the news. He recalled that in his previous life the search ended too soon, leaving people to die. He remembered the public anger over the premature conclusion of the rescue in the original timeline. He sighed happily, knowing that saving that person had changed history for the better. His mother admitted she almost fainted when he demanded such a huge sum from the vice chairman. However, seeing the lives saved made her realize how truly special her son was. She praised his decision to donate money to the victims as well. He asked how they were feeling, knowing they had been worried even after he left the hospital. He reflected internally on his earlier depression over the hundreds he couldn't save. He decided it was time to cheer up and put his parents' minds at ease. His father expressed pride in his maturity and his charitable heart. He insisted he was fine and wanted to return to work, shocking his mother. His father tried to argue that a child should play, but the boy remained firm. His parents sighed, deciding to let him pursue what he wanted. Internally, he knew he had to work because a specific event was approaching. Someone exclaimed in shock at a piece of bad news. The manager was incredulous that the exclusive modeling contract would not be renewed. The actress apologized for the interruption during filming. She dismissed the conversation, stating she had nothing further to discuss at that moment. On camera, she cheerfully promoted the new product with a smile. The director called for a short break in the shoot. Back in the waiting room, she confronted him about the sudden news regarding the contract. She was confused why they wouldn't renew a contract that was expiring naturally. She questioned if the company wanted to drop him, as she thought the role fit him perfectly. He explained that fame had never been his ultimate objective. He revealed that acting was merely a means for a child to earn money. He realized that with his seed money secured, he had to forge his own path to build a top-tier company. The adult agreed, noting that while the nature of the business was unclear, his decision showed maturity. She corrected herself, realizing he was doing things that even most adults couldn't manage. She pointed out that he was walking away from the enormous wealth and fame that came with being an exclusive model. Regardless of his choice, she assured him that he would become great at whatever he decided to do. She checked to make sure the CEO and the other adults had actually approved his bold decision. A staff member interrupted them hesitantly, trying to get the actress's attention. The director asked if their break was over, but the staff member stammered that there was another issue. They informed everyone that someone had arrived specifically looking for the boy. He was shocked to see the vice chairman standing there. The vice chairman confirmed that the boy had no more schedule for the day, which he shyly affirmed. He then extended a polite invitation for the boy to join him for dinner. He rephrased the offer warmly, asking if he would like to eat with his uncle. The boy insisted he could walk on his own, trying to maintain his dignity. The vice chairman laughed, teasing him about not wanting to be held, while the boy wondered why he was acting so strangely. He looked at the man with suspicion, worrying if he was being sweet-talked into a bad deal. The actress sensed it was time to leave and bade the vice chairman farewell. He acknowledged her briefly, noting it was nice to see her, even for a short moment. The boy observed the tension between the two adults, confused by the strange atmosphere. The vice chairman spoke cryptically, trusting that she understood the situation without words. She thought to herself that she had known from the start this relationship had an expiration date. He explained that since he was becoming the owner, he had to clear up any rumors that could cause trouble. The boy recalled from his past life that she had disappeared from his father's side around this exact time. He realized she was clearing away potential scandals to ensure a smooth transition of power for the company. He watched as she turned away cleanly, showing no lingering regrets in her departure. The vice chairman admired her decisiveness before suggesting they get going as well. He called out to the boy, who was deep in thought. The boy demanded to know where he was being taken against his will. The vice chairman announced they had arrived at his favorite Chinese restaurant. The boy was stunned to find his mother and father already there waiting for him. The vice chairman ushered him inside, confirming that his parents were expecting them. He panicked, confused why his parents were involved and who else might be waiting inside. A voice from inside welcomed them as they entered the private room. The old man identified him, confirming he was the child named John Songguk. The server politely told them to enjoy their meal before leaving the room. The vice chairman encouraged the boy to eat heartily and not be shy, assuming he was hungry. The boy stammered a nervous reply, overwhelmed by the company. He found it incredibly difficult to eat with the chairman of the massive corporation sitting right in front of him. Despite the pressure, he decided he had to eat the delicious noodles even if it made him sick later. He finally built up the courage to ask exactly what was going on. He identified the old man as John Jushin, the legendary founder and former chairman. He recognized him as the great man who rose from poverty to build the leading company, commanding total respect. He admitted internally that he had always respected this man above all others. He wondered why such a legendary figure would suddenly appear before him now. The chairman asked if the food was bad since he wasn't eating, but the boy quickly denied it. The chairman shifted the tone, stating there were more important matters to discuss. His parents asked directly why the chairman had requested this meeting with their family. The chairman stated that since the boy saved his son and the company, gratitude was required. He paused, preparing to reveal the most important reason for the gathering. He announced he needed to personally meet the child his son intended to adopt, shocking everyone. As the parents reeled from the word adoption, he clarified he meant becoming the boy's guardian. He offered to provide unlimited educational support, from private schools to studying abroad, until adulthood. He added that if the boy wanted to join the company later, he would offer special employment. He justified the extravagant offer by reminding them that the boy had saved his life. He emphasized that the decision was based on the boy's potential and his curiosity about his future growth. He shrugged, adding that since the vice chairman wanted to adopt him so badly, he had to agree. He turned to the boy and asked if he would agree to become his honorary grandchild. The boy analyzed the situation, sensing no malicious hidden motives from the old man. He knew there was more to it than just charity, but given his current situation, the offer was undeniable. He concluded there was absolutely no reason to refuse such a massive opportunity. He boldly declared he would become the chairman's grandchild, prompting laughter at his audacity. The chairman warned him playfully that he would torment him with rigorous training to make him worthy of the company. His parents watched the interaction nervously while the chairman laughed heartily. The chairman expressed his approval, and the boy raised his hand to speak to his new grandfather. The boy advised him to work less and stop drinking so much for the sake of his health. He looked at his respected grandfather with deep concern. He knew the man was a terrible workaholic who wouldn't put down the bottle until the day he died. He believed that if the old man simply rested and stopped drinking, he could live much longer. He shouted his wish for the grandfather to stay healthy. The chairman burst into laughter, admitting the boy was absolutely right. He agreed wholeheartedly that health was indeed the most important thing. He asked the parents to think it over and let him know, then turned to the vice chairman. The vice chairman promised to be in contact with them soon. The meeting concluded with everyone being urged to enjoy the rest of the meal. Later, the scene shifted to the popular menu item at his uncle's new restaurant branch. It was described as the special original Bassam dish. Someone tasted it and admitted it was actually not bad at all. A relative apologized for missing the opening, but his mother told her not to worry about it. She acknowledged that everyone had been busy managing the entertainment agency. She summarized that the entire family had been incredibly hectic for the past month. She noted that his dad had finally opened the store he had longed for. The implication was that while the parents focused on work, the boy had time to play. Manager Kim had been swamped meeting performance targets and recruiting new talent. It was noted that filling the empty spot left by a big star's temporary retirement was no easy task. She asked the boy if he was enjoying his life as a normal child these days. She assumed he had spent his break doing all the fun things he had wanted to do. Internally, he revealed he had actually been building an investment portfolio and strategizing for the IMF crisis. He chuckled to himself about the meaningful time, while his mother asked for help persuading him. The issue was that he was stubbornly refusing to attend kindergarten. The adults expressed disapproval, saying that simply wouldn't do. They insisted that no matter how smart he was, kindergarten was mandatory, which he vehemently rejected. He screamed internally that he was mentally an old man and couldn't stand being around snotty-nosed kids. He felt he had too much work to do to waste his life on something so trivial. He tried to compromise by saying he would just study on his own. Suddenly, a voice called out from the entrance. His mother recognized the visitor as Secretary Yang. She welcomed him, noting he had arrived at a perfect time. The boy muttered about his father's Bassam dish as the scene transitioned. He questioned the disturbance, unsettled by the strange look on the other person's face. A polite interruption broke the silence. The visitor announced they had arrived to deliver important information. It was an official obituary, a formal declaration of death. The notice confirmed that Chairman John Jushin, the founder, had passed away suddenly at the Central Funeral Hall 2 days prior. The cause was identified as a heart attack, the result of a long battle with cardiovascular disease. Disbelief washed over the listener, who recalled how vigorous the man had appeared only a month ago. Gratitude was expressed for their attendance, though the guests felt it was merely their duty to come. Given the chairman's fondness for Songguk, bringing the boy into the chaotic gathering of political and business elites was deemed difficult. Concerns were raised about the child's safety as he quietly addressed his grandfather. He lamented that they were parting ways sooner than in his past life, regretting that his advice to cut back on work and drinking was ignored. He realized that his own stubborn nature was indeed inherited from his grandfather. The boy was called to move and he agreed immediately. He excused himself from his parents, promising to return shortly after paying respects to the vice president. The secretary informed him that his father was asking for him despite the chaos of the funeral. A subordinate respectfully addressed the new leader. The arrival of the boy he had been looking for was announced. He greeted the man with a formal title. He wondered if the heavy burden of being an uncle was already falling upon him before the funeral scent had even faded. He repeated the title firmly to get the man's attention. He asked if the man was holding up all right. The man questioned the attempt at comfort, noting it was out of character for the boy, yet he hesitated. The boy observed that the man looked visibly exhausted. He admitted the boy was right, acknowledging the difficulty of the situation. He reflected on the uncharacteristic act of summoning a child just to see his face, something he never usually did. He stated that caring for his uncle was now his responsibility. He vowed to grow and develop his father's legacy, ensuring it was passed on intact. The goal was to find an heir capable of wielding the power of the massive corporation. He asked directly if the boy would accept his sponsorship. The boy hesitated, feeling the need to ask his parents for their thoughts first. He paused to consider his own position. He made a decisive choice to accept the offer. The decision was met with approval. Instructions were given to prepare for a transfer to Samjin Kindergarten by early next month. He was challenged to prove he was a sprout worth the investment. The test of his worth would begin at that new school. They arrived at their destination. Standing before them was the prestigious Samjin Kindergarten. It was known as a top-tier institution for educating talented children, a fact he was well aware of. Although established under the pretext of discovering gifted children from all backgrounds, the reality was different. He knew its true identity was a private institution for managing the heirs of political and business families. Regardless of its status, he had no intention of attending kindergarten at his mental age. However, he realized he had to endure this to pass his father's test. The staff greeted the arriving officials. The principal confirmed the child's identity and thanked them for the sudden transfer. Since it was the vice president's will, they had to comply, and the teacher was summoned. The homeroom teacher for Class A introduced herself politely. He noted the teacher's name and found her demeanor acceptable. The staff handed the child over to the teacher's care. She invited him to follow her to meet his new classmates. She mentioned that his friends were waiting. She announced enthusiastically that the class consisted of only 5 other students. She assured him they were good children, asking him to get along with them. He wondered exactly what kind of kids occupied this elite circle. He had a strong suspicion about who he would find. He braced himself, certain of who that person would be. The teacher called for everyone's attention. She announced the arrival of a new friend and asked them to say hello. The room contained the grandsons of the prosecutor general and the electronics CEO. Also present were the granddaughters of the hospital director and a former minister. Finally, there was the daughter of the group chairman himself. In his previous life, he had been abroad for early education during this time, missing the chance to meet her here. He had expected this, but seeing her again was still a shock. The teacher encouraged the class to greet him. One student scoffed, calling the greeting old-fashioned. He was appalled by their refusal to greet him, labeling them as rude brats. Assuming they were pampered by wealth, he decided to introduce himself politely anyway. The teacher thanked him while mentally cursing the unruly children. She promised to bring snacks and textbooks soon. She left them to say hello to one another. One kid recognized him from a television appearance. Another noted his minor celebrity status. They immediately pivoted to questioning his family background. The children began boasting about their powerful grandfathers. They demanded to know what his grandfather did. He sighed internally at the absurdity of toddlers discussing hierarchy. He bluntly stated that life wasn't just about family and that he had no grandfather. He revealed that his parents simply ran a restaurant. The elite children were confused and disdainful that a commoner from a regular shop was in their class. Suddenly, one girl voiced her approval of him. Someone called out her name in shock. She greeted him warmly. She mentioned seeing him on TV as well. He stared at her, stunned by her behavior. She confessed she liked him, and he realized she was just obsessed with his face. He recalled that in his past life, she had always chased men solely for their appearance. He was horrified to learn this trait existed even in her childhood. She praised his looks and taste, ignoring the others' protests. The other kids questioned why she was nice to a nobody, but she silenced them. She insulted the other boys' appearances while celebrating his arrival. She pressured her friend to agree with her assessment. The hospital director's granddaughter quickly sided with her. He realized the girl was completely subservient due to the family hierarchy. To survive this den, he knew he had to use his wits. A report confirmed that he was in the same class as the young lady. It appeared the secretary had personally arranged the placement. Someone muttered his name ominously. An order was given to contact the chairman. The message stated that his estranged wife wanted to talk. The chairman questioned her unexpected arrival. He reminded her that their relationship was strictly business. She cut to the chase, asking if the child was his. She was furious that he might have violated their contract by enrolling a secret child. She demanded he confess if the child was his from another relationship. He retorted that she should get a DNA test if she was so suspicious. He dismissed her accusations and attempted to leave. He complained about her wasting his time with trivialities. She remained convinced he was hiding something. The teacher initiated the lesson. A student mocked him as a poor kid, but another corrected the name. Another student agreed with the correction. They bet on his inability to write properly. He seethed internally at their arrogance. The teacher checked if he was all right. She started the instruction. The subject was music. He excelled in arithmetic and crafts, creating a masterpiece. The teacher praised his genius enthusiastically. She switched the focus to English class. The class responded in unison. He wondered if he was showing off too much. He realized claiming to be self-taught in English might be a hard sell. The kids sneered, thinking he was finally stumped. They assumed he couldn't speak the language. A student asked him directly if it was true. The teacher offered him a way out if he couldn't participate. He confidently assured her of his ability. He spoke fluently, shocking the teacher with his proficiency. The rich kids were astounded that a low-class boy could speak so well. They listed his talents while he mentally noted this was basic stuff. He tried to peel the clinging girl off his arm. She continued to fawn over his abilities. The teacher proposed an intelligence test. It was a standard procedure for placement in the class. Since he was so smart, she was genuinely curious about his score. They agreed to do the test immediately. He recalled his past life IQ was around 150. With a fresh brain, he expected to hit an even higher score. He stared at the result in shock. The score was only 121. His father was amazed that he spoke English fluently. The father jokingly said he was starting to get scared of his son's brilliance. He wondered just how smart his boy really was. He mentally scoffed at the praise. He was frustrated that his score was lower than in his previous life. He felt humiliated and stupid. His parents were confused by his sudden sullen mood. He addressed his father. He told his father he had insider information. He revealed plans for a new factory, information he got from the chatty girl. He advised buying land instead of stocks. He urged his father to invest in real estate. He explained Samjin was planning to build a semiconductor plant. He specified the location in Weizong, the site of future development. He recalled how Samjin had profited massively from land sales in the past. The father was hesitant, having never dealt in real estate before. The son demanded his father trust him. The father noticed something else tucked in the papers. It was an invitation hidden with the IQ results. It was for the birthday party of the chairman's daughter. The father realized who the invitation was from. The details confirmed the party was at the chairman's residence in Hanamdong. He checked the address. It was indeed the main house of the chairman. Even the manager felt intimidated by the scale of the place. She noted how impressive the personal invitation was. Someone called his name. He internally dismissed the importance of the party. His mother insisted he go, noting the secretary had confirmed attendance. He wished he could stay home and analyze stocks instead. He had bought flowers because he was pestered to, but now doubted the gift. Compared to the mansion, the flowers seemed inadequate. He reassured her, knowing the girl dreamed of receiving flowers from a handsome boy. The manager dropped them off to have a good time. She promised to pick them up later. They prepared to enter the residence. The staff welcomed them by name. They were led to the main house, leaving the mother in awe. A sign welcomed them to the party. The mother marveled at the palace-like interior, though he found it ordinary. Having lived there before, he was used to it, but knew it was a different world for his mother. The birthday girl spotted him and called out. She expressed her excitement at his arrival. She noticed the bouquet immediately. She swooned, declaring him her perfect type. She introduced him to her mother. She bragged about his looks to her mother. He greeted the woman respectfully. His mother thanked the hostess for the invitation. She offered a homemade gift of plum syrup. The hostess instructed the butler to take it. His mother was humble about the simple gift. He knew how much effort his mother had put into making that syrup. He felt it was too good to be wasted on the spoiled girl. The girl reacted to his intense stare, feeling scared. The hostess addressed his mother. She offered to introduce her to the other parents. The girl dragged him away to the food, distracting him from his mother's nervousness. She tempted him with cake and his favorite meat dish. He reluctantly followed her. His mother was invited to sit. She took a seat nervously. The other mothers were introduced with their prestigious titles. She introduced herself simply as Songguk's mother. They immediately asked about her family's business. They clarified they wanted to know her husband's profession. She admitted he ran a restaurant in a shopping complex. They were shocked it wasn't a factory and grilled her on her education. She confessed she hadn't attended college. She stated her high school graduation. She realized she was completely out of her depth. She worried about embarrassing her son while a woman spoke in French about how unpleasant this was. She couldn't understand the language but felt the judgment that she was beneath them. The women gossiped that the family was leeching off the son's looks. A sneer escaped one of them. They complained to the hostess about letting such uncultured people in. Suddenly, a voice scolded them in French, shouting shame on them. The speaker criticized their arrogance for looking down on others just because they knew a few foreign words. The boy revealed his disappointment in his own mother. She exclaimed in French that the situation was quite unpleasant. She thought to herself that the other woman simply wasn't on their level. She looked down on the family, mocking them for living off their child's appearance while being penniless. Someone asked Songguk what the matter was. He noted how fascinating it was that they shared secrets like that. The boy boasted that his mother was the best at French since she majored in it, and he knew it too. He admitted that deep down he actually respected her for that skill. He mentioned the classic title Les Miserables. He noted the title but realized something was off about the situation. He scolded her in her own language, telling her she should be ashamed. He expressed deep disappointment in his mother for looking down on others just because she knew a few foreign words. The adults were shocked, wondering if the young child had just spoken French. One speculated that he must have just picked up a few phrases here and there. He politely addressed the woman. She was taken aback by being addressed so formally. He criticized her for using her lousy French solely to gossip, questioning if it was even a necessary skill compared to basic manners. He internally compared her to his honest parents, deeming them 1,000 times better. The adults were flustered, admitting they hadn't caught everything he said. When asked where he learned the language, he claimed he just picked it up from watching a lecture on TV. He mentally panicked, realizing he had let his adult side slip out because he got too worked up. The adult noted that despite his excuse, his grammar didn't have a single mistake. They confirmed with disbelief that he had learned it all by himself. She decided to leave the party early, clearly embarrassed. He demanded to know where the apology was. He insisted that she apologize to his mother. She tried to argue that there was no need to apologize for words the other woman didn't understand, but he called out her bullying. He warned her not to disappoint him further and demanded a proper apology immediately. She let out a defeated sigh. She admitted his son was clever and confessed that she and the other mothers had been thoughtless with their French chatter. She tried to smooth things over, but internally felt that just being nice wasn't enough. She announced her departure, addressing his mother. His mother called out his name in surprise. She was amazed that he could speak French, questioning when this happened. Despite the conflict, she praised him, saying his pronunciation sounded like a prince from a movie. She declared him a genius, while he tried to act humble about the whole ordeal. Someone immediately called Secretary Yang to report the incident. The secretary was shocked to hear the news about his language skills. The caller confirmed he spoke authentically, exposing Kim Myung-hee's nasty habit of gossiping in a foreign tongue. They noted that she had been completely caught in the act by the young boy. Even though she was a high-status woman, they couldn't help but find the situation laughable. They struggled to believe he reached that level just from TV lessons. They marveled that a 5-year-old had mastered both English and French. They recalled his IQ test result was 121, confirming his genius status. Although the score seemed low for his skills, he was clearly gifted, so they decided to keep monitoring him. The conversation shifted to the study abroad preparations for the other children. They reported they were contacting schools and looking to secure one more spot. The order was given to prepare a passport for Songguk as well, surprising the subordinate. It was clarified that, for now, it was only sponsorship. However, the intent was to raise him properly if they were going to do it at all. A greeting was offered to the arriving guest. The director greeted Madame Kim Myung-hee warmly. She returned the greeting, saying it was an honor to visit. The director confirmed she was there to check if her daughter was receiving the proper education. She mentioned the new student, referring to John Songguk. She stated she needed to verify if he was worthy of being near her daughter. The director explained that a renowned pianist was there for a special lecture. The director suggested she would enjoy it since her daughter was musically gifted. They noticed the music starting. She gasped in surprise. She recognized Songguk at the piano. The audience was awestruck by the performance. His name was whispered in amazement. They wondered if his talents extended to the arts as well. It seemed there was nothing the child couldn't do. She realized he had already caught her husband's attention. She recalled how disappointed her husband had been in Taeguk. Taeguk had only average intelligence and no standout talent. He was considered unfit to inherit the company. Her son couldn't do anything right in their eyes. Both the chairman and her husband had turned their backs on him, but she had tried to stay positive. She had relied on the fact that Taeguk was the only recorded heir. She believed her son would inevitably inherit the empire, but that guaranteed future had collapsed. It was all because of John Songguk. The teacher praised the beautiful performance, while the madam grudgingly admitted it was decent. He was asked if he truly never had lessons. He thought to himself that he had in his past life, but not this one. The pianist was astounded by the talent. The pianist asked the director for a private word. The director was confused by the sudden request but started introductions. He introduced the Madame of Samjin. The pianist introduced himself nervously. He expressed gratitude for Samjin's sponsorship before asking about the boy. He agreed the performance was remarkable. He noted that the boy hadn't even been properly trained yet. He compared the child's talent to his own childhood. He declared the boy a true prodigy. The director was shocked by the high praise. The madam quickly asked about her own daughter's potential. The pianist diplomatically suggested she continue as a cultural pursuit. She realized he meant she was only good enough for a hobby, which offended her. She realized neither of her children could compare to Songguk. However, she saw a potential advantage in this situation. She reasoned that if the chairman saw the boy as an emotional artist, he wouldn't consider him for business. She publicly agreed that artistic talent was important. She proposed they help his talent bloom, and the director agreed. She made a proposal to the staff. Songguk announced his arrival at home. His mother asked about his day, then noticed the pile of gifts. He explained that the school offered him piano lessons with the famous pianist himself. His mother recognized the famous name from TV. He mused internally about the perks of an elite kindergarten, noting people were making a fuss over his talent again. He felt something was slightly off about the situation. His family cheered him on to become a pianist. He noted the pressure to pursue music. He recalled receiving offers in his past life but keeping it as a hobby. Back then, business had been his priority. He decided to take the free lessons but had no intention of becoming a professional. He was determined to follow his own dream. He lamented that being a genius made people pester him about his career. His little brother asked what the word meant. Their mom told the younger one not to bother him, causing the child to cry. The little one threw a tantrum, wanting to play. His mother asked him to humor his brother for a bit. He agreed to play for a short while. He explained that a career path is deciding what to be in the future. He told the toddler to think about earning his keep and the boy said he wanted to be like him. He was surprised the boy wanted to be just like his big brother. The little one said he watched him work hard and believed he could do it too. He looked at his brother with fresh eyes. He realized the kid actually had decent looks. He admitted the younger brother was even cuter than himself. A sudden idea struck him. He scrambled to find a script given to him by a manager. He located the commercial shooting script. He called out to his brother sweetly. He suggested they play a game of script reading. Later, he arrived home again. His mother greeted him. The little brother proudly announced he finished his tasks. The mother praised him for taking such good care of Manga. He thought to himself that soon he'd make real money off the kid. He calculated the profit potential with some more training. He initiated facial expression practice with his brother. They arrived at a meeting place. He greeted Secretary Yang. The secretary asked if he was early, while the mother got the kids ready. The mother explained they were dining at Dad's restaurant with the secretary. The little one was energetic, while the mother tried to calm him. The secretary noticed something. He recognized the music playing in the car. The mother explained she played it because Songguk liked piano. The secretary looked at the boy expectantly. He asked about the rumors, which made Songguk suspicious. He realized the lessons were a setup for this interrogation. He denied it, saying adults were pushing him. He firmly stated his goal was business. The secretary was intrigued. He murmured that someone would be relieved to hear that. The food arrived, their dad's signature basam dish. The dish was presented with flair. Someone cleared their throat. The description of the food was mouth-watering. The son praised his father's improved cooking. The secretary complimented the food. The father thanked the secretary for coming. The father brought up the important discussion the secretary had mentioned. The topic was Songguk. The proposal was to send him to America to study. The parents were shocked, as the chairman's kids were going there too. The reasoning was that his talent needed a bigger stage. The mother asked about the duration. It would be at least 2 to 3 years. The mother hesitated due to his young age, while the little brother panicked. She tried to explain it gently, but the kid refused. Mingguk threw a tantrum, wanting his brother to stay. The parents tried to calm him. They shushed him. Songguk declared he wasn't going. His mother was surprised. Internally, he thought about how he'd already done that in his past life. He knew accepting support now would trap him in Samjin's shadow. He had work to do in Korea. His mother asked if he meant kindergarten. He thought about the secret knowledge he possessed. He knew the financial crisis was coming in 2 years. He needed to prepare financially before that date. His plan involved stocks and real estate. He had to hustle to protect his family, so he couldn't leave. He told them he wanted to stay with his parents. His mother was torn, grateful for the offer but hesitant. She acknowledged the magnitude of the chance. She found it too hard to send him away, while Mingguk continued to protest. The secretary said they could think about it, but Songguk refused again. The secretary accepted the stalemate for now. They prepared to leave. He remembered something. He recalled the busy holiday season. He remembered the pressure to become a pianist and his annoyance at the adults. He thought about his dad's investments which were paying off. He focused on his project of raising his brother. He credited his own teaching for his brother's fast growth. Mingguk had announced his dream to be an actor on his birthday. The family had been surprised. Time passed. Now it was the day of the audition. He checked if his brother was ready. They headed out. The mother watched them, amused. She was worried about the child acting world. She wondered if Mingguk could handle the difficulty. She reassured herself. She noted the host was an acquaintance. She hoped nothing bad would happen. Someone called out. They arrived at the 5th MVC Child Act Open audition. An old acquaintance greeted them enthusiastically. The mother scolded him for not using a title. She corrected him to say director. The director didn't mind the informal greeting. He expressed surprise at seeing them at such a big event. He credited Songguk for his success. His previous work had caught the executive's eyes, landing him this gig. He joked about canceling the audition to film Songguk instead. He acknowledged the real star was the other brother. Mingguk introduced himself energetically. The director praised the boy's sharp appearance. He had a good feeling about him. He invited him to show his skills. Mingguk took the stage confidently. Songguk noted the successful first impression, then spotted someone. He recognized a figure. He realized who it was. It was the rude woman from the paper company and her son. She noticed him too. He braced himself as she approached. She spoke to him hesitantly. He recognized her. He defensively warned her not to try anything. Surprisingly, she apologized for her past behavior. He was confused by her contrition. She walked away humbly. He was baffled by the change. He wondered if she was dying because of the drastic change. An assistant interrupted his thoughts. The assistant greeted him. She offered to show him his seat, but he asked about the woman. He pointed her out. He recalled the bad history. The assistant offered to move them, but he explained she had apologized. He asked if something happened to her. The assistant mentioned a rumor. He realized what had happened. Someone called out to the woman's son. The boy asked for help. The narrative noted the woman's total transformation. He realized there was a backstory. The boy pleaded. He revealed his father abandoned them. The backstory was explained. His father had an affair. The father wasted money on the mistress. He kicked his family out. The child had cried for his mother. He had clung to her. He chose to stay with his mom. They were living in a tiny room, confirming the bankruptcy rumors. He wanted to act to support her, but it wasn't working. He begged Songguk for aid. Songguk initially felt they deserved it, but he hesitated. He called the assistant. He asked for Jaehee's number. It was close to Mingguk's turn. He told Jaehee to follow him. The mother was surprised. She called after him, but he told her to wait. Songguk advised him to focus on the role to help his mother. He pointed at Mingguk. He introduced his brother. He told Jaehee to copy Mingguk. He explained the technique. He pointed out the expressions. Mingguk performed well. Jaehee was unsure, but Songguk encouraged him. Jaehee admitted camera shyness. Songguk gave him a specific visualization tip. He told him to perform for his mother. The staff called the next group. Jaehee's name was called. He resolved to try. Mingguk asked for feedback. Songguk praised him. Mingguk noticed something. He pointed out the talented older kid. Songguk felt he had repaid a karmic debt. The results were announced. Mingguk won. The runner-up was announced. Jaehee was chosen, to his mother's delight. It ended well. Songguk was satisfied with clearing the debt and getting his brother a job. He noted the prize benefits for his business plans. He was happy with the outcome. He planned his next move. Quitting kindergarten. Secretary Yang appeared again.
Yang Priset Minggu.
He explained why he was there. A stranger suddenly approached, announcing he had something to say to them. He asked for the man's identity, and the stranger greeted him politely. The man introduced himself as film director Kim Jae-gyu. He recognized the name immediately as the famous director behind several hit dramas. He wondered internally why such a prominent figure would be visiting them. The director explained he had watched the audition and wanted to get straight to the point. He shocked them by offering to cast Mingguk as the child villain in his new drama. He urged them to consider the offer, adding that he had news for Songguk too. He revealed he had specific news regarding Songguk as well. He looked at the document, realizing exactly what it was. He read the title of the project, noting the melodramatic genre. The plot involved a widow raising a son and falling in love with a younger man. He admitted to himself that the premise wasn't bad. He realized this was a role Mingguk would be perfect for. He suddenly paused, sensing something was off. He shouted, demanding to know how the director knew such specific details. Mingguk had actually received an offer from a famous director just last week. After that initial offer, events had moved at a rapid pace. They went through script readings, meetings, and lessons in a whirlwind. The contract had already been signed. They raised a toast to celebrate Mingguk's debut as a child actor. His mother expressed her pride, but was interrupted by a new arrival. He was startled to find Secretary Yang standing there. Yang congratulated Mingguk but reminded Songguk of his own business. The chairman requested a personal meeting regarding the ticket given earlier. He tried to excuse himself, but Yang insisted the chairman wanted him specifically. Yang offered to adjust the schedule and provide transport, leaving no room for refusal. He sighed deeply, realizing he was trapped. He accepted that he couldn't dodge the meeting. He handed the ticket back to the chairman immediately. He accused the chairman of using the meeting to push the study abroad plan. He firmly refused to go, citing his work in Korea, though the chairman knew the truth. He internally complained about the offer while the chairman questioned his refusal. He declined again, but the chairman suggested it wasn't about studying abroad. Confused, he watched as the chairman ordered Secretary Yang to show him something. He looked at the new document, bewildered. Realization struck him as he examined the paper. He was shocked to see it was a kindergarten overseas exploration program. The chairman explained that overseas trips were a standard part of the curriculum. He realized the chairman had maneuvered him into a 3-week U.S. trip. The chairman dismissed his excuses about being busy. The chairman insisted he attend the program, postponing the long-term study plan. He remained silent, processing the ultimatum. He asked why the chairman was so desperate to send him overseas. The chairman gave a vague, evasive answer. The chairman mentioned his wife had asked the same question. The chairman noted she harbored some ridiculous suspicions. In the past, she had accused the chairman of being Songguk's biological father. She believed he planned to replace Taeguk with Songguk as the heir. The chairman revealed his true motive was to test the boy's potential. He wanted to observe how the boy would perform in the vast American environment. He argued that witnessing the U.S. economy firsthand would be beneficial. He internally admitted the chairman's logic was completely sound. He realized understanding U.S. trends was vital for the upcoming IMF crisis. He recalled how the U.S. heavily influenced Korea's economic reforms during the crisis. He remembered the foreign buyouts and mass bankruptcies of that era. He reflected on the devastating results of the economic crash. His original plan had been to simply gather capital in Korea. He wanted cash to protect his people from the coming storm. He wondered if the U.S. trip might offer a new opportunity he hadn't considered. He decided to go, realizing the answer might lie in the U.S. market. The chairman noted his sudden enthusiasm with interest. The chairman told him to bring back good results from the trip. 1 month passed quickly. His family said goodbye at the airport with Mingguk crying loudly. The teacher organized the class to board the plane. She guided the students to check their seat numbers one by one. She checked the chart and called his name separately. She informed him his seat was separate and an attendant would guide him. His classmates wondered where he was going alone. He was confused as he was led away from the group. He realized he was being led into the first-class cabin. He asked why he was alone, only to find someone unexpected waiting. He froze in shock at the person's presence. He stammered, surprised to see his biological father there. He wondered why he alone got the upgrade to sit with him. He greeted the chairman, still reeling from the surprise. He asked why the chairman was there, and was told it was a business trip. The chairman claimed their seating arrangement was a lucky coincidence. He didn't believe the coincidence at all as the plane took off. An awkward silence fell between them. He dreaded the thought of sitting next to the chairman for 10 hours. He asked to return to his original seat, but the chairman refused playfully. The chairman teased something interesting, sparking his greed for investment tips. The chairman mentioned he had originally intended the item for Taeguk. He handed over the item. The chairman thought he might like it, but he stared in disbelief. He was internally outraged by the gift. He was insulted by the children's storybook and threatened to leave. He suddenly paused, noticing something else nearby. His eyes widened as he spotted something truly valuable. He pointed at the object, stammering with excitement. He identified the prestigious business magazines he had been eyeing. He bargained to stay in his seat if he could read those magazines. The chairman warned they were for professionals, but he begged to look. The chairman relented, seeing no harm in it. He reveled in the joy of holding a fresh business magazine. He reminisced about his love for these journals in his past life. He lamented that his current parents never allowed him to read them. They wanted him to live a normal child's life. He recalled their attempts to make him play and go on picnics. He understood their intentions, but felt stifled by the restrictions. He realized how strange he must look preferring economics over stories. The chairman called his name, snapping him back to reality. The chairman offered the magazines on the condition he check a document first. He looked at the paper handed to him. He realized it was a schedule. The chairman explained it was his itinerary for the U.S. trip. The chairman pointed out conflicting events on the schedule. The chairman asked if he understood the business terms, and he confirmed. The chairman was impressed and posed a question. He asked which event Songguk would choose to attend. He told the boy to take his time and answer honestly. He thought it was crazy to ask a 6-year-old to decide a corporate schedule. He hesitated, considering the situation carefully. He recalled that his father in his past life also disregarded age. He remembered his father's meritocratic nature. He realized he had actually appreciated that challenging aspect of his father. He valued being judged on skill, and the chairman urged him to speak. The chairman assured him there was no penalty for being wrong. The chairman waited for the answer. The chairman wondered if the boy would live up to his expectations. He advised the chairman to attend the Venture Expo instead. The chairman was intrigued by the choice of the smaller event. He stated bluntly that Samjin had no place at the large corporation expo. He explained that IT giants already dominated the US market. He surmised the chairman wanted to partner with them. He reasoned that the market was too saturated for them to enter. He argued that investing in unseen ventures was the strategic move. He regretted that in his past life, they had missed the venture boom. He knew that boom would birth massive companies soon. Focusing on giants had cost them dearly before the IMF crisis in his past life. He emphatically recommended the Venture Expo again. He claimed the company's future lay there, amazing the chairman. The chairman asked him to accompany him. The chairman invited him to the expo personally. He accepted the invitation with excitement. He wondered if he could meet a specific person there. Another voice interrupted, asking why he was with the chairman. Taeguk was hurt that his father was spending time with someone else. He realized Taeguk was also on the plane. He realized the implications of the situation. He was shocked that the chairman chose him over his own son. Taeguk demanded an explanation from his father. The chairman silenced Taeguk's outburst sternly. The chairman demanded Taeguk's homework. Taeguk handed it over nervously. The chairman reviewed it silently. Silence filled the air as he read. He felt the suffocating tension between father and son. He wanted to vanish, but the chairman called him. The chairman told him to review the document as well. He saw it was a list of companies attending the expo. The chairman explained the assignment was to pick a worthy company. The chairman told him to try, and he feigned ignorance initially. The chairman ordered him to choose seriously. He prepared to answer. He thought about the chairman's intensity. He noted how intimidating the man was. He pointed to two specific companies on the list. The chairman read the choices: Google and Tcom. He knew Google would eventually rule the world. He knew that person was working at Tcom. The chairman compared his IT choices to Taeguk's selections. Taeguk had chosen a soda and a toy company. Taeguk admitted he picked what he understood. He had asked for help but was still overwhelmed. He acknowledged it was hard for a normal child. The chairman asked if Taeguk even knew what a venture was. Taeguk guessed vaguely, unsure of the definition. The chairman dismissed him back to his seat. Taeguk protested, but was cut off. The chairman ordered him to study more. Taeguk left dejectedly. He spoke up nervously to defend Taeguk. He asked why the chairman was so harsh. He defended Taeguk's effort, but the chairman dismissed it. The chairman stated only results mattered in business. He inwardly disagreed, recalling his past mindset. He realized he had pushed Taeguk away in his past life for the same reasons. He admitted he had been wrong in his previous life. He wished he had been a better brother back then. He realized a family wasn't a corporation. He knew worth shouldn't be measured by performance in a family. He hoped his biological father would learn this lesson soon. The scene shifted to their arrival in Los Angeles. They arrived in LA, and the other kids were excited. The itinerary included 3 days at a theme park. He sarcastically noted the trip to meet the mouse mascots. Someone called out to him. A classmate asked if he was excited for the theme park. Minji offered to guide him, but he apologized. He announced he had somewhere else to go. Minji saw her father and brother nearby. She was surprised they were there without telling her. He excused himself to leave. She asked what could be better than the theme park. She doubted him, but he confirmed it confidently. He was heading to the Venture Expo to find hope for the future. The scene shifted to the convention center. He was determined to meet a specific person he knew would be there. He stood inside the Venture Expo hall. He was amazed by the scale of the event. He recognized the future giants of industry were present. He asked if he could roam, and the chairman granted permission. The chairman assigned bodyguards to accompany him. He thanked the chairman enthusiastically. He looked around the expo in awe. He spotted familiar names like Google and Yahoo. He finally spotted his target. It was Elon Musk. He reflected on who he would want to meet from the past. Many names came to mind when considering that question. As a businessman, he wanted to meet Elon above all others. He stared at the man, starstruck. He admired the visionary entrepreneur standing right before him. He greeted Elon respectfully. Elon mistook him for a lost child. He declared he was there for business and investment. Elon was dismissive until the chairman stepped in. Elon read the company name on the badge. Elon recognized Samjin as a top Korean company. Elon was intrigued and asked what they wanted to discuss. He noted that Elon was also a prodigy who started young. He expressed interest in T.com. Elon warned it was complex, but he identified it as an online bank. He explained the concept of internet banking perfectly. He praised the idea, leaving Elon stunned. Elon wondered how the child understood such a complex model. Elon asked his name, and he introduced himself. Elon was amazed by his understanding of the business. He had a realization about the moment. He mentally screamed to invest and pushed for the discussion. Elon suggested moving to a quieter spot. Elon stated the boy was a serious investor. Elon insisted on respecting investors regardless of age. He admired Elon's mindset. Elon offered him juice as they began talking business. He revealed he knew Elon's current financial situation. He pinpointed that Elon was out of capital despite being ready to launch. Elon was shocked by the accuracy of the statement. He warned Elon about losing control of his company like before. Elon was rattled as he recalled his first company. He knew Elon had lost ownership due to funding issues previously. Elon had been kicked out of his own company in the past. He offered to prevent history from repeating itself. He encouraged Elon to stay the course with his investment. Elon was bewildered by the boy's insight but pressed for the amount. The chairman observed the conversation from afar. He noted the boy's serious demeanor. The chairman admitted they had been watching T.com closely. He acknowledged the concept was advanced for its time. He was impressed that Songguk identified such potential. He noticed Elon was treating the boy as an equal. He marveled at their interaction. He was awestruck by the child's capability. He asked about Taeguk's whereabouts. Secretary Yang reported Taeguk was eating ice cream. Taeguk had been won over by sweets, forgetting his earlier mood. The chairman realized Taeguk was not air material. He compared him to Songguk's extraordinary nature. He ordered Yang to find out exactly what was discussed. Songguk returned from the meeting. Songguk asked for help with something specific. He declared he wanted to invest in the U.S. market personally. The chairman agreed to the request. They shook hands on the deal. Yang commented on their sudden partnership. He explained how the deal came to be. He had asked the chairman to facilitate the investment to bypass red tape. He used the chairman to handle the legalities of foreign investment. He asked to use him as a channel for his funds. The chairman decided to invest personally as well. He was surprised by the speed of the chairman's decision. He wondered if it was his influence that swayed him. The chairman admitted it to Elon directly. He praised the boy as more than just a genius. He trusted the boy's insight, and Elon agreed to the terms. He predicted success for Elon's company. He told the chairman he would make a fortune. He told them to simply trust him. Yang asked if this massive investment was truly wise. Yang noted the money was originally meant for major corporations. The chairman realized their money meant little to the giants. He decided to gamble on the boy's vision. He bet on the future and asked Songguk where else to invest. He was betting on a brand new possibility. An announcement addressed the passengers. The pilot stated the plane would be departing shortly. 3 weeks passed quickly in a blur. He spent the whole trip with his father while the others played. He felt the trip was incredibly productive. The chairman appeared again on the flight home. He was annoyed the chairman was sitting next to him again. He eyed the newspaper the chairman was reading. He asked to read it, and the chairman agreed. The plane prepared for takeoff. The flight was bound for Seoul. They were scheduled to arrive soon. He noticed something troubling in the paper. He remembered the history of that time. No one foresaw the 1997 crisis amidst the current celebration. They were oblivious to the storm on the horizon. He reassured himself that he was ready. He was prepared and had gained much from the U.S. trip. Only one thing remained to be done. He had to execute his plan perfectly. He made a decision. He announced he wasn't going to kindergarten for a while. His mother worried, but he insisted he had something important to do. He claimed he had the chairman's permission already. His father offered to help with whatever he needed. He revealed his plan to the family. He wanted a family trip to Jeju Island immediately. He announced they were leaving the very next day. He reminded his father of his past promise, the promise of a proper wedding and honeymoon they never had. He said they had the money and the venue ready. He urged urgency, fearing they'd lose the chance if they waited. He knew the coming chaos would prevent travel for a long time. He ordered them to pack immediately. He wanted to fulfill their wish before disaster struck the nation. He believed they deserved happiness before the hard times returned. A shout rang out in the office. Disaster struck as stock prices began crashing rapidly. The president announced seeking IMF aid due to severe hardship. The nation was effectively bankrupt. The president took responsibility for the crisis. People panicked as the news broke. The market collapsed and companies failed by the dozens. Samjin was in trouble as the crisis deepened. He realized it had finally begun. The IMF crisis officially erupted on November 22, 1997.